tie them dots in them and help them.
Yeah, it helps.
But if you leave it loose, it sort of gives you some breathing space.
Yeah.
You finally got them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They were in huge demand.
I can imagine. Well, I didn't put an order in for them, so I didn't get on there, but I buy enough other stuff. I got a cupboard full of stuff, but not those.
So the audio is on, the video camera's on. I don't have the recording going on the meeting yet, but.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
This conference will now be recorded.
I guess we got 3 minutes.
my computer says 1.
It says 8:59.
That's what I got. I got 9 o'clock.
Pledge
Allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
What time you got?
I got 9 o'clock.
By the phone.
Now, on the courthouse internet connection.
At the fair's 8:57.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
So the courthouse must be wrong.
Yeah, the server, that's what it updates by, so, because that's the reason why you got the same time as I do
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your computer.
Usually they're in sync.
But we could hold up for a second for cell phone time.
Cell phone time.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's what
that's,
the world goes by.
yeah.
Did you send out a card?
Not,
It was from Ashley.
Actually sent it out.
Crash, okay.
Did you not get?
What's this one?
The, may have went to your personal.
I'm looking at it.
Okay.
I looked at you, see if they did it.
Dave, that sounds like me.
Officially
I
9
always keep my
o'clock.
deleted file for a long time.
9 o'clock on the cell phones. Already having the Pledge of Allegiance done. Going to go on to debrief for a COVID update.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, basically I have no updates to report. As of 7:45 a.m., there are no active cases in Marion County. I would like to suggest suspending the COVID updates at this time, and maybe we can resume at any point. I can notify Tina or maybe the chairman and then put them back on the schedule. But you might think about what you want to do there. I think by following the state's stay-at-home order, Kansas was able to accomplish what was intended. It was intended to flatten the curve, which does push the cases further, and this allows health healthcare and other providers to handle the load with resources, including supplies and staff, without getting overloaded. And by pushing cases even further into the future, treatment and vaccine can become available. So I do want to remind the residents of Marion County that COVID is still out there in Kansas, and I would suggest that you stay home when you're sick, practice the social distancing, practice thorough hand washing with soap and water, and wear a mask in public if you're considered a high-risk individual. Continue to stay home and leave your home for essential needs or exercise, healthcare, and wear a mask when you're in public also. Are there any questions?
Deidre, this is Randy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Are we having any weekend meetings? Are we spending any overtime from now on? Or are we back to normal work hours? And
I know KDHE, we are not having meetings. I will tell you that Wanda, the nurse, is still checking. We do still check on EpiTracks throughout. Wanda's been doing that. Occasionally I have done that. I haven't. The overtime is starting to diminish.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions for Deidre? All right. Thank you, Deidre. Is
Thank you.
Randy?
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Just a couple of things to tag on to Deidre's last comment. We'll continue running the Emergency Operations Center for a while longer. We still do have, for the emergency management, we still have meetings on Saturday. Hopefully, as things dwindle down, that will end as well. But as she said, the overtime is dwindling as well. Last week, we received the federal grant for $36,300. That's the CESF grant through the state of Kansas. This is the grant that I mentioned that's going to help us with upgrading our infrastructure on IT issues. We built a separate server in another county, so if for some reason we have a power failure or a fiber optics failure like we've had during this event, we will continue having our emails running. We won't lose that service as we did for 2 days during this event. And so that's what that grant is for. There's many items in the grant that we'll be purchasing, and several of them were well over $1,000. One of them is about $7,500. So we'll be making that. That's for an additional server that'll be at a different location. So I'll be making those purchases here within the next couple of weeks. We're also working with the City of Peabody and the City of Hillsborough on their grants this week to try to get their PPE order that they received in the grants. And that's all that I have for you.
Randy, on all these grants, did we receive any grants that covered anything that we may have budgeted for?
Not any of the grants I've requested.
Okay. That's all I got for now.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, go on to administrative business.
Okay, I have the minutes of June 1st.
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any questions or concerns with the minutes? If not, accept the motion to.
I'd make that motion to accept the minutes of June 1st of 2020.
Second. Motion by Randy, second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Looks like we have a partial payday.
We have a couple of early checks. One of them is the payment on the tire cutter for the transfer station, which is due before before our next payday. And then the other one is for the masks through Western Associates. We had received the bill, but apparently did not get it entered previously. So we do have, that was, and then, oops. I don't know why that says 0 on there.
Yeah, it says 0, but I think it says up at $525 for risk management.
Right, it does. It's $525.
So I'll make a motion to approve the $525 for risk management.
And that's to Western Associates.
Second. For Western Associates. Second by Randy. Any other discussion?
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna approve it because I did approve it, that was brought to us in advance, and so therefore, I just wanna make sure you know where I stood on that. Okay.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain?
I abstain.
4 with 1 abstention.
I'll make a motion that we make the, is that lease purchase payment on that machine?
Yes.
Transfer station.
For the transfer station, about $11,383.81.
Second.
Motion, second by Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Does that pay that off?
That pays the whole.
That's the first payment.
Yeah.
We have 3 payments. I believe that's the first
Yeah.
one.
But that covers our $11,980.81.
Everybody gets to sign this early.
There's 2 to sign.
I don't sign the motion, is that correct?
There's 2 of them there, David.
Now you have to press the first,
It's recorded that you abstained, so your signature just acknowledges that you've seen it. Right? Okay.
Now, take it home.
Yeah. Okay. In your packet, you had the clerk's report for the month of May. And then you have information on last year's schedule for fireworks, when they're allowed to be sold and discharged within unincorporated areas, and then also, a calendar for this year so that you can decide and set those hours that would be allowed this year.
Is the 3rd the official holiday this year for the 4th? Yeah, I think
Most
everybody's
people are
taking
taking
off.
things off on Friday.
Yeah, for the county it is, yeah.
Most of the businesses are all going in that direction too.
Make a motion, we allow fireworks 27th through the 5th of 27th of June through the 5th of July. 27th, be able to sell up to 11 o'clock, shoot up to midnight, and the 3rd and the 4th up to midnight, and then sell to 11 o'clock on those 2 nights. 10 o'clock on all other nights. That shuts it down for.
So, just to clarify on your motion, would it be, when you say until 10, is that selling and discharge?
Yeah, on the other nights, yeah. That allows you Friday and Saturday, the 27th, 28th, and I don't know, the 2nd, no, the 3rd. You said 3rd's the official day.
There's the.
But let's just do it the 3rd and 4th until midnight.
We're going to anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, but you gotta give somebody room to shut them down. So the law has some sort of understanding on.
The retail sale in the past has been, you can see the 27th through the 2nd, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the 3rd to 4th was 8 to midnight, and the 5th was 8 to 11.
Yeah. The 5th is Sunday night, no,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say shut it down at 10.
Okay.
There's nothing.
It varies each year a little bit based on the days of the week.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is tried.
Except for the 3rd and the 4th, it's 10 o'clock. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Randy's motion was on June 27th,
Which is Saturday.
allow sales till 11, shooting off till midnight, and then on the
Okay.
3rd and the 4th. And
Yeah.
then on all the rest of the days to sell and discharge until 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that first Saturday, you allow a little extra time.
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Motion by Randy, a second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hope it's not dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's we've had a lot of nice green forest lately, but.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like this weather maker's gonna kind of mess us.
Is it?
I see. Oh, no, that's a good thing, because they're talking flooding wherever it hit. If it's a tropical storm.
And the only other thing in your packet was our official notification of the Community Development Block Grant award. And that's on the agenda for later on to discuss your application process and
Am I correct on that, that the cities didn't get any awards or?
none of the cities received their requests. And
So-
so this would be open to everyone in the county, all businesses within the county, regardless of which city.
So do you know if those cities are gonna be bringing their applications?
I have asked that they provide me a list of their applications, of their applicants and their contact information, the amount they applied for, so that when we have the new information ready to go, we can send it out to them automatically, as well as providing it to everyone else. But I've gotten a lot of phone calls from, particularly from City of Marion businesses, so.
So was the last time we got one when you were chairman?
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at the note,
Yeah.
dear Chairman Dolby.
I do have one last item for administrative, and it is an FMLA request and approval, which would need a short executive session. And if you want to do it, we can do it at the end, or if you are okay with approving it without looking through all of the details, I can tell you that the employee does qualify for FMLA. So just generally what you do is a vote to allow a qualified employee to take FMLA. But if you want to go in executive and review the information, we can do that too.
As long as they're qualified and somebody's double checked it, I'm okay with allowing it. So it require a motion.
Does anybody
It
else?
does require a motion for approval, but I want to make sure that everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
And generally, in the past, we've gone in and
Yeah.
then you've come right back out and just said, do it, so.
Like I said, as long as somebody's signed off,
I don't have no problem with
I will make a motion to approve the FMLA for the approved individual Second. Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
Okay, then we won't have to do that executive session either. And I think that.
I don't know if he's the mayor.
It's the caller one.
Oh, they muted. Oh, they did.
Does anybody else in the county have any fireworks stands that sell out in the county?
Sell out in the county?
I don't know any.
Other than what, Marion, Hillsborough, Peabody? I don't even know how many stands we normally
Well,
have.
most of them are within city limits, so
Oh.
what you've approved is just for
Outside.
outside.
Out of county.
Yeah,
I was gonna
Yes,
say, I mean, I don't know that we have any.
I don't
Well,
think so.
just so happens that I'm out of county, I mean, that's, I don't know, 15 years or so. I don't know how many years we've sold, but I just wondered if there's ever, I'd never found one, and that's why I was asking everybody if they had a different, you know.
We're just covering the bases, I guess.
Yeah.
Cause I don't have any knowledge of any.
Yeah.
Yeah, there haven't been any others.
Yeah, I know we've never
Because
had
they
any.
have to apply for a permit.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any other applications for permits.
Well, the permit's just mostly to help keep, what we put that in for was help keep trash from building up, because we have one down in Peabody that left their stuff there for about 3-4 months. And it's everywhere. Yeah.
That concludes our master of business.
Yes.
All right.
Can I ask one other question to Tina? On the travel guide, can I still get a note adding that?
Yes,
And
on
if I
the
have to-
on the travel guide, I haven't been able to connect with it, with even a contact person there. So that early bird rate, we are not getting it because I asked Randy Collett from Marion for contact information because he's entered them for us in the past and he is not this year. And he gave me a contact. I reached out to that contact person and haven't heard back. And so we're well beyond that date. So,
So anybody that signs up will have to be
it'll be at the
$10.
$90 rate, and, so I have not entered any of those yet, because I'm still waiting for a contact person.
Is
So
that-
yes, go ahead and get more.
Okay, so, okay. And then, now, do I tell them that the county is paying for it like I have in the past?
They,
Well, I guess that's,
all but $10.
well, here's the
Well-
thing,
'Cause
because
it's after.
the ones that we've already collected by the 31st,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
can't get the early bird rate
we'll have to
now.
pay for
Well,
that.
we'll have to cover the extra 10 on those, but anybody after the first.
Also, when you.
So that's what I want to ask the board, what your preference is, if you want to, how you want to handle that.
With your,
Tina, when you get a hold of that person, maybe tell them that we tried to get in and they'll give us an early discount because of the COVID,
don't hurt to ask.
Right, I'll ask them,
Ask
but
them.
like I said, I haven't heard back yet from the place.
Okay, so I'll give you this
Why
business,
no?
and if we, $10 to pay, because I told them it would be free, but because I'll just pay the $10 then, because I'm not gonna go back and tell them, now you owe $10, after I
Yes,
told them.
If we pay the rest of them, Diane, we'll pay that one too, is my
Well,
opinion.
it's
Yeah.
whatever, I just don't wanna go back to this
Yeah.
person and
Yeah.
go back what I
So we'll
said.
wanna go ahead and just cover that basis right now and just say we'll cover
Well,
$90.
if you're ready to do that, that would be great,
That
because,
way, ain't no problems. Then it's free, free is free.
right.
Right.
Yes.
So my question before you get that part though, Tina, is it a viable business? Do they have an office? I mean, what I'm getting at, do they have an office number or something?
I think a lot of places are still not fully, everybody working in the office, so.
Okay.
It's like called the one call the other day and they're all doing it from home. I mean, it's an extra 5 days to get a call out flagged sometimes.
Okay, see, I haven't done that lately. Cool. Okay.
But yes, it is a viable business that's
Okay.
doing it. I mean, it's with the, I forget which organization.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I did.
Kansas Tourism or something like
Okay.
that.
It just has not been.
Ain't good with your motion.
Okay, I will make a motion to cover the additional $10 on every applicant that has been foregone by the early bird being missed due to COVID-related issues or communication issues, just so that businesses get in, comp to 100%, so we support our local businesses as much as possible, and tourism.
Second.
Got a second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So you said, for travel related and businesses, so it doesn't necessarily have to just be travel related.
Yeah, but in order
Because that
to
was
be,
what it was originally.
yeah, but to be in this thing is really a travel related.
Okay, that's good, because
I mean, it's a
can go to-
business.
I can go to other places, that's great.
But,
Okay.
you know,
Or it
if,
has some kind of tourism related.
yeah, I mean,
It's a destination.
and if you come to the destination, you may need other resources.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I just wanted
Not
to
for
know about
gas
that.
stations and restaurants.
So. All right, so are we ready for the 8th judicial?
Yes. I can see, how close they are to being ready to come.
Or we can, I didn't know Deidre's still on here, we could, if they are not ready, I guess.
Oh, I see. One other thing that you will probably need to decide, is how you're gonna move forward with this, with commission meetings, after this week. Are you know, gonna keep doing it like this, or you gonna? I mean, that would be a good thing to know, because I have gotten a few questions.
I feel that we should keep the same format for at least the next 30 days to see what happens. And if we get relapse from all the social gatherings that's happened the last 3 weeks, since you've got a good setup and it's working, and the public seems to be able to access the meetings.
They can be here in person too. I mean, I don't know, I don't see anybody, but,
We've got one chair.
yeah, we've made it available.
Well, but the word hasn't got out yet either. So, I mean, that one chair, there's people out there that don't know that they can come in yet. Because I've had people ask me, and of course I tell them, probably not. I would say, yes, open it up and let them come in. I disagree with Mr. Crowfoot. Because, true, people who are savvy and tech savvy are there, they can watch it, but there's a lot of people out there who are just actually being disenfranchised because they just don't get to it, but.
I've told multiple people that they can come in that have had, you know, I didn't have anybody complaining about it at the beginning, and then all of a sudden I got a bunch after I said I didn't have any. I said they could come in and the hallway's open,
Is this the
chairs
second or
open.
third week?
Yeah, I think it's,
This is the third
And I had
I think
somebody
it's-
call me this morning, and they said, well, I'm gonna come in. I said, okay. I said, but just be prepared. Maybe they won't want you to come in, because I don't know yet. So, for them to drive in from the country and then be turned down and go back, then they wouldn't even have access to this, you know
No,
what I'm saying? So,
and
I'm surprised they didn't come,
the
but
lack,
obviously they did.
the lack of public being here, I think is more due to the season we're in. I mean, everybody's out planting beans.
We don't usually get a lot of farmers in here though. All through the years of my being a commission, that's just not a usual attendant person.
Kind of depends on what the issues
I see a
are.
lot of farmers.
I see a lot of farmers,
Last year
but
it didn't
they don't
matter
come in
what day
here.
it was.
No, unless they have, like Mr. Becker is saying, specific issues, but they don't come and just sit and observe as a rule. They're busy, they don't have time to do that. So, but anyway, I just say open it up more, like everybody else is starting to open up a little more, we should too.
Well, I think we have, we're in the middle somewhere. And
One chair,
Well, then there's places in the hallway, we've got monitors, we've tried to make accommodations.
How about if we say July the 1st is our goal to open up the commission meetings and get back to where we was at maybe?
normal,
I
Is that
don't
what
know
you're
what
saying?
normal is in Diane, but
Well-
I'm just saying,
Normal's gone.
maybe we tell everybody that July 1st is a set date. I don't know, anybody, I'm anxious to hear anybody else's opinions, I mean, but still, I think that we're not here to have comments in every session.
that's a different issue
We're
though.
here to do business, and So I'm just saying, maybe July 1st, we choose to, is there anything, Tina, that courthouse has to prepare for otherwise? I mean, how's things going in the courthouse? Everything? as
Well,
far as you
after we
know?
opened it fully, seems like it's been very, very slow.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Well, I mean, and
A lot of
that's,
people have gotten used to doing it in
Yeah,
other
I think a
ways.
lot of people prefer not to actually come in and take care of things, but, I believe tomorrow is the day that driver's license will start, accepting appointments, so
Very
that'll
good.
pick up.
that was gonna be something I had to bring up later. So
Yeah,
thank you
okay.
Thanks
So
for taking care of that.
that will start tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays every week, and it will be by appointment only, so I'll be posting that information.
So I'd like to just clarify something that Randy said, because I'm a little confused. So opening up to the public, and then you said, but you still don't want comments after every topic. I mean, I hope that's not your reason for keeping it closed, is to eliminate comments.
No, I'm just saying that we've got too much comments going on with this session. And so we need to keep directing what our business is here. If somebody has a topic that they've called and talked about, maybe, but every week the same person making comments, that's gotta stop. No.
Really? Okay. I
They
just
can make,
want to
they can make
clarify
their
that.
public comments, they can do that, there's no problem with that. But,
And they can run for office.
and, they can do whatever, but I just think maybe we start telling people July 1st, we're gonna open it up. I mean, I don't know, I'm just hearing for
Well,
college.
I'm in the middle there. I'm more with Dave has reevaluated on July 1st, rather than carry it for 30 days.
Our health department is still saying we
Yes.
need to social distance, and
Yeah.
all of this, and, they're our employees, and they know that they're the ones that are the professionals at this, and so, yeah, I think we should look at it again, maybe on the 30th.
Okay.
That's our payday meeting.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Okay,
more
we can do
sense.
that.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask, if we could do it on the 30th, and then also, did you wanna meet on the 29th and the 30th, or not have a meeting on the 29th?
Put it together.
They made that, just put them together on the 29th.
Yeah, or if it's a Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Okay,
Stay, put them together.
all right.
I'd like to make a motion that we keep the meetings as is and reevaluate on June 30th.
I'll second that. Any other discussion?
I think we should open it up sooner.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Dave
None opposed.
He's a commissioner.
I like transparency, and
I
the
get
sooner the
good
better.
sense.
Okay.
Ready for us?
Morning.
Yep.
Be careful with this folder, it's a little.
So is Brad not gonna be here?
That's all
Well,
right.
he's
I
not
like
here yet,
to-
so
I will
go
do
right
that.
ahead,
Yes,
sure.
we can do
And,
that.
First come, first served.
Chairman, because it has the signs.
I've had that job, I don't want to.
Okay, this is for Jonah,
And then I guess,
and then this right here will be for you. Okay?
there we go, thank you. Am I okay sitting here?
Okay, I'll give you mine.
I'll probably need Jonas, because I think this has a signature.
Okay.
This is the most organized we've ever been.
Is this a new page of your life, or what?
It's a new page in Nikki's life.
Oh, okay.
I've spent 25 years as chief judge, and for 24 years, the court administrator has been all organized and gotten to the meetings and invariably misplaced one file or didn't put a page in a file or whatever. So this year, Nikki, she's really literally not done anything in 2020 till now because she's been working on it. And that's not true. If you would, excuse me, start with just on mine it's a blue tab about halfway through, it says Marion, obviously the Marion County budget. That's what I will start with, because I'll be talking about 3 separate budgets here. And I can't recall our 2 newest commissioners. Is this the first time I've done a budget presentation? Okay. Well, first, the Marion budget will be a little higher than everybody else's because we had to make 5 packets instead of 3. If you go to that Marion budget, you'll see a cover sheet that shows actual expenditures in 2019, estimated expenditures for 2020, and then proposed expenditures for 2021. That's the cover sheet on the Marion tab. The estimated expenditures for 2020, it looks like we've gone through and said, okay, we think this is what we're going to spend. That is just by virtue of long-standing tradition. That's the actual number of our budget. So you can look at those three across, and you can see that the budget in 2019 was $93,000. In 2020, it's 193, and now we're asking to go to 197. Doesn't mean that we're going to spend everything that's in the 2020 budget, but if we did, that's what it would be. So if you'll turn the page. Sorry, that's strong in my throat. You'll see our actual line item breakdown. And you'll also see why our budget is up about $1,300 versus being the same or a little down. And that's the very first line item, which is legal defense. Our budget amount had been around 96, 97 for that line item for quite a while. In 2019, it went up to the 112. And Jan's out there, and we talked. Where'd she go?
She's just around the corner.
Okay. We talked about this, and she'd be willing to address it. Last year, we didn't bump it up because we thought that was an aberration. We had a bunch of vouchers come in right at the end of the year, and we thought, well, that's just an aberration. But it's not looking like it was an aberration. It looks like that's the way it's going to be. So we have upped that line item to 113, which is just pretty much what it was in 2019. And I guess if we don't spend that, well, thank you.
We have full service here.
It's good to be the king.
Only the judge gets that commission.
Yeah, you never had that to us, but yeah, we understand.
I think somebody picked up on the frog on the phone.
Yeah, frog on the phone,
You gotta say that.
Yeah, okay.
That's the code
Anyway,
Yeah.
so as you can see, that's a pretty big jump between the $17,000 jump over last year. If you go down the rest of that budget, you're not going to see, a little up here, a little up down, but there's not much to point to. The total is 1,388 over last year. I do want to point out, right in the middle, there's kind of a break. It says travel, and then if you go down from travel, it says microfilming. That is, and I know that Kent and Diane and Randy are familiar with this already, but we have just hundreds of years of files. And people want to be able to go look up something for genealogy purposes or sometimes for title search purposes. and those things are falling apart. We can't store them, don't have room to store all of them. So we've been microfilming for years. And we keep microfilming, and then we convert the microfilming over to digitized stuff. So we've always had a line item for that. But in order to not come in here and say, hey, we're 16,000 up, we are not planning on microfilming in 21. However, we have applied for a grant through the state, it's a federal thing, that we're kind of excited about. And if we get that grant money, then we will still be doing some microfilming. Why do you care? Because if you got to store this stuff, if we don't. But I'm just only mentioning it because I would anticipate, we know that you guys don't know what money you're going to have to spend. We know it's a brave new world. So next year we may have money back in there for that. So bottom line is we're asking for $197,499, which is up $1,388.
Yeah, we have the register of deeds over there, and we're all talking about the same thing. You're talking about years ago records, we're talking about years ago records in her office. How is it accessible by computer for you to do this as of today, from your microfilming to that?
That's the digitizing part. Part of it, yes, it would be accessible by computer. Part of it, It's still on microfilm. We are now in the process of, hey, Jan, you're up.
Sorry, I can't hear very well on that
Well,
TV.
stand over there so you can be, here, trade
Come to the
seats with me.
podium. Come to the podium.
Go to the podium.
You stand at the
Oh,
podium.
what am I talking?
You're talking, podium, they don't want you sitting in my chair.
All these special people get there, they get their water brought to them.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah.
Jan, we're talking about the old files and microfilming and digitizing, and just real quick, walk them through your process.
Well, process is to, right now, box them up and send them to microfilm in Missouri.
You don't do it in-house then,
Do not do it in-house. I don't even,
because the rest of the teachers is getting ready to do it in-house.
Yeah, we were.
Well, the company's
Speak into your
gonna do it.
microphone.
Yeah, we've done that.
we have
Yeah.
done that in the past, a
And
long
then-
time ago, but.
For a while, the Prism was doing it
Right.
for us.
Yeah. But I was asking the question, is it computer accessible? I mean, everything's going to computer, we know that and stuff. And when you want to look up, let's say, the record of 30 years ago in a shooting in Florence, and how do you go about that today?
It's been 50 years now.
50 years ago? Okay, yeah, it could be been a long time. Yeah.
Right now, they've been microfilmed and are put on the computer. So if somebody would come in, at this point, I don't believe they're on the public access, but they
Okay.
will go there and you can just look up the name, case number if you have it, and be able to look at it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Uh-huh, you're welcome.
You have no idea how much she hates.
She was saying this.
So,
Set of issues out there.
No, I just noticed that everybody's sitting way back from their microphones, so that's gonna make it difficult for
Trying to
people on
relax.
the virtual meeting to hear, so just a reminder to speak into the microphone, please.
Let's have a tag that says lean forward.
Yeah.
so that is the Marion County budget. Now, let me point one last thing before we're gonna move on, because I'm presenting 3 budgets here to you. Let me find it. Okay, 2/3 of the way down, there is it says district expense. And if you go to the right-hand column, it's a $19,008 expense in the Marion line item, which is down just about $800 from last year. That is your portion of the district budget, and if you'll flip back to the orange tab, I guess here's the one, it says overall district budget.
Just district.
District budget. In the front, the cover page shows 146,215. That is the budget that is funded by Marion, Morris, Dickinson counties. And it's based upon the number of cases filed in each county for the previous year that we have. Obviously, we don't have 2020's numbers, so it's 2019 numbers, and then next year will be the 2020. Marion County, the last time I was in here, was 14% of the district caseload. We're down about 1%, so we're 13% in this budget. So the district budget, and it funds things that are not specific to a county. If Jan needs a new desk, we would come to you guys and say, hey, the court needs a new desk, put it in this budget, and you need to pay it or you wouldn't. But court services, and our chief court services officer, Lois Smith is out here. That's our probation officers. They work all over the district. Their mileage and such, it's really no way to say it goes to this county or that county. The judges work all over the district, those kind of things. Court administration, Nikki's office. So those are all funded through the district budget, and your share of it is what was pointed out. I pointed out on that. So we'll be asking you to approve the Marion budget, the district budget, and then the one I'll talk about in just a minute. Any questions about
As far
that?
as district budget goes, even though we approve it, we're only just approving for the 13% that we are contributing.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And if we've never had, in my experience, a time when let's say 3 counties approved it and 1 didn't. Really, I don't know what would happen. In that case, I guess we'd have to get back and talk about what the problem was, and hopefully get the one that didn't approve it to agree, or they can explain to the other counties what their problem was. The thing that, there was a time when Gary County's percentage was growing so rapidly that it was approaching 70%. But the last few years, it's backed off. And, you know, it's right there, Gary County this year is 60%. Yeah. And then finally, if you'll go back to, in your packet to the green tab, court, it says court trans. I'm not sure why it says trans. Oh, that's transcriptions, never mind.
Yeah, you're on the wrong.
Yeah, I am.
Transcription is.
But yeah, go to the very back orange, the very last tab, court trustee.
Next time I'll make all the tabs the same color.
I'm gonna
when you
say,
guys
what it
that.
says.
Oh, I thought, see, I kept saying if yours is the same.
It's okay, it's the last tab in your.
Very last
Yeah.
tab.
Where's
Very
Court
last.
trustee.
Mine's yellow.
I went to the others and I said, this, I'm not following, I must be.
Well, I told you, this is the first year we've ever been this organized, and we still need to tweak a few things.
Okay.
The very last tab.
There are only 3 tabs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
There should
that's
be
all I
3
got.
tabs and 3 budgets in
Yeah.
your.
Which is court trustee. And this, again, probably pretty much for Jonah and Dave, the court trustee does court debt collection. And they'll also do child support enforcement. So, a couple gets divorced, one parent gets the kids, the other parent gets a child support order. The parent that's got the child support order isn't paying, they can go to the court trustee, and the court trustee will take legal action to collect their child support for them. They do not charge them anything for it, but the trustee collects a fee of, is it 4%? I can never remember.
Yeah. Is
I
it
think 4%, I think,
Court
of
trustee?
what they collect.
No. mine's
So
0.
if, you know, the guy's a hundred, well, if you say the guy, because typically it's the man, but not always. Let's say he's $1,000 behind and the trustee's able to collect $100. Well, the parent with the kids would get $96 and the trustee would keep 4. And then they would continue to try to collect on that. And it's really a pretty good deal because there's no money out of your pocket. And most lawyers don't object to this process because collecting child support is a no-win proposition for attorneys. You put more money and effort into it than you can make out of it. So they do that. They also collect on court debt. When somebody gets placed on probation and they're ordered to make restitution for the damage they did. Well, if they don't, the probation officer tries to get them to do it, but if at the end of the probation the person's done everything they should do, the only thing they haven't done is paid the money, it doesn't make sense to keep them on probation just to do debt collection. Because that's time and money we're spending that getting us nowhere. So we turn it over to the court trustee, that's Ed Wheeler, by the way, who does the collection, and it's not costing anything at that point in time. This whole budget is self-funded. We're not asking the county, any of the counties, for a penny on these budgets. The one, Ed can't be here today. He signed up for a legal education seminar. He shouldn't have because he knew about this date, but he did. And then he called and apologized. But if you do have any questions about this budget, he'll be glad to come at any point before you need to make a decision. But we, again, because this is a district operation, and ultimately, the counties, if we were to go in the red, the counties would have to pick up, the 4 counties, what amount we were going in the red. We've never come close to that. We have no intention of ever doing that. Before we would do that, we would just shut down the operation. But we still need your approval. And if there are any questions, be glad to try to address them.
Before they all get away, I'd like for this new person out there to come in.
Oh, yeah.
So we all recognize who they are and stuff.
Lois.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is Lois Smith. Lois is our Chief Court Services Officer. You would think of that as probation. but court services does a little bit more than that. Well, give me your background real quick. Tell them where you learned everything you know.
Here in Marion County.
No, from me.
From Nikki.
From me.
Yes, from Nikki. Yes, my first post as a CSO was here in Marion County. I started here in 1999. I've gone through just regular, we call them CSO ones, are your typical officer who works the caseload. Currently, you have a CSO 2 working the caseload in Marion now. That's one of my supervisors, Courtney. I only have 2 of those in the entire district. My other one is in Dickinson County. I'm now in the Geary County office. I've been here 21 years. I've been through all 3 stages of management in this office. And Judge Powers is right, I learned everything I know right here in Marion County.
I do your evals though.
Yes, you do.
Prior to being a court services officer, Lois was a Junction City PD officer. And there is we've always talked about, Nikki's predecessor and I always talked about court services officers. You don't want them to be cops, you don't want them to be social workers. There's a line in between there somewhere that they have to walk. Then you'll also, we have another kind of probation officer within the district that are community corrections officers who, under our current structure, are supervised by Nikki. Their operation is, but they're actually Department of Corrections. Well, no, they're actually Geary County employees, but the Department of Corrections funds their agency. And they're a little more on the cop side, I guess.
They are.
But they're dealing primarily with felony issues. And while Lois's folks work on the felony stuff up to the sentencing point, they do pre-sentence investigations and such forth. It generally, not always, but majority of the time, those felony probations roll over to community corrections as opposed to court services.
And
We have a lot of terms at you, sorry.
Yeah, and we pick up a lot of the court pieces. We are typically the enforcement arm of the judge. Whatever a judge needs or wants, we are the ones that do it. If we need to go check out a house to see if it's okay for someone to stay there, we go do it. You need a drug screen done, we do it. We do bond supervision to keep your jails more empty than they could be. We can supervise someone for driving while suspended, and we'll write you a PSI for a first-degree murder. We run the gamut. We do juvenile diversions. We do some post-file. There's a new program. It's called IIP, but it's essentially still diversion. But we run pretty much whatever the court needs done. We do. Community Corrections has some limitations on what they're allowed to do because of the Department of Corrections involvement. But we're unique officers, being executive branch employees. Judicial branch employees, not executive branch employees. So we carry all of our authority from the judge and what he says we do.
So be careful. We got a lot of them, we'll send them after.
And who's the one that retired? It's been around Marion County for a long time. Was it in yours?
Was it
Oh,
Cecil?
Cecil
Askin?
Askin?
Cecil, yes.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Cecil's doing very well. He is the chief executive officer, whatever, of the Junction City Brigade baseball team. He's had that now for several years. They got a really nice little stadium there, and they play teams from Kansas City, Topeka, and whatever. They're all made up of college kids who they play baseball during the summer to keep their edge or whatever.
Okay. I haven't seen him lately.
I call him Al Davis, if you remember the old Oakland Raiders owner who wore a tracksuit and lots of jewelry. And Cecil doesn't dress that way, but I wish he would, because I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
So there's the 3 budgets. The one that I would think you'd probably be the most concerned about is the flat-out Marion budget, because that's the bottom line of the amount of money we're asking for. The district one is, your part of it is within that Marion budget, and then the trustee doesn't cost you.
Very good.
Any questions? I'll be glad to have one of these guys answer. Did appreciate
Thank you.
the whole COVID thing was just Nikki and I will tell you that I don't think either of us have ever worked harder in the jobs than the 6 weeks, 2 months that we weren't open. Because the Supreme Court was coming out with new requests for information and new policies, and telling us to develop policies on things. Am I lying?
Not at all.
I mean, it was almost daily. And Fridays really sucked because it was like, Fridays for whatever reason was when at about 5 o'clock they'd send out a thing saying, hey, by next Tuesday you need to have this done. But they were reacting to information and stuff just like we were. But did appreciate that cooperation from Tina's office and Deidre and all the county people. We did not feel left out, let's put it that way.
So how soon are you getting back to jury trials? I have no idea.
That's a really good question. There is a lot of thought about, could we do it? Yeah, we could do it right now, but I don't think we get people to show up for jury duty. All along, I thought July might be the earliest that we'd have a chance at it. But they have a special task force going on right now that the Supreme Court does to try to make some plans on what we can do there. We've talked about ways to do it. You could have the jury spread out around in the courtroom. And instead of sending the jury to the jury room, the court personnel could leave the courtroom and let the jury have the courtroom so they could maintain spacing. And you could do a lot of witness presentation by Zoom. But the problem is jury selection, because when you select, you don't just, it's not like, the movies where you just go to the bar and get 12 cowboys. You have to bring in a lot of people and ask a lot of questions to winnow it down to the 12 you need. And we have to be bringing in little bitty groups of people and then sending this, maybe we pick one person out of this 6 and send the rest away and just keep going. I mean, it would really take probably 2 days to do what we're now doing in half a day. So I don't know, Ken. It's a great question.
I'm just thinking, gee, the pipeline gotta be full.
How many,
Well, yeah, kind of across the whole state,
Yeah.
do that. The good news is that the Supreme Court has suspended a lot of the timelines that apply to those things, which will guarantee down the road that they're gonna have a pig going through the python, because there's gonna be a lot of people that end up pleading or getting found guilty of stuff that are past the timeline that would have been in place for a speedy trial. And then they're gonna appeal to the Supreme Court saying, but frankly, and this is gonna sound bad, that's their problem. And we'll deal with it on this level. I'm sorry, David, you said.
how many cases, you got 6 or 60 cases pending?
Oh,
Or do you know?
a lot more than 60. Because everything that was pending before this started is still pending.
Okay.
The ones that really, really got backed up, I anticipated we might have a lot of criminal stuff. Of course, we still got everything that was ready, was there, but I think, and you'd have to talk to the law enforcement officers, but I don't think there's any question that there are some things, some tickets that could have been written, things of that nature that weren't written, because you didn't want to put anybody in jail unless they needed to be there. And Rob and I actually had a conversation about that. Unless this person's dangerous to the public, do we really want to put somebody in on some technical violation and risk them bringing the virus into the jail, and then it just goes throughout? So I think that there were a lot of tickets and arrests that maybe would have been made in the past that weren't made, because the only thing I saw any kind of an uptick in was domestic violence, and we got a lot of that. I suppose that's just people being, trapped together in the house. And,
Too long.
I mean, that's probably what saved me, was the fact I had to come up here and work on that Supreme Court stuff, because if I'd been trapped with Judy, she'd probably kill me. Really good chance of it.
You ain't got you a man shed?
What's that?
You ain't got you a man shed?
Actually, the basement's
Oh,
mine.
there you
Yeah, the basement's mine.
There you go.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you later. Thank you.
Don't follow me. Yes, I'm going to.
That's not good.
You're not done yet.
Wow. I said that, that's correct. All right. Deidre? Still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I kind of like this. Can we continue to do this? Because I can work in my office until my turn.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see any problem with continuing this with the department heads. But
Okay.
that won't be solely up to me.
That would be super. Hey, Tina, did you get, I had emailed you the packet
When did you do that?
this morning.
Okay. I can look for it. Just a moment.
It was, I can see what time it was. It was about 7:50.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. Let me, just a moment, and I'll get it to where I can share that.
Okay. Because I did include, we used to do questionnaires, and I kind of still do that.
Send it to everybody.
So if you want to pull that one up first.
Okay, I'll do that.
And basically, it's like, what equipment purchase do I anticipate in 2021? And really not a whole lot, other than if we need to replace some computers. The ones that would need to be replaced are like the yoga tablet for about $1,500, and the nurse's computer, and possibly a copy machine. And I always do write a vehicle on that also. But those again would need to be replaced if we had to, if something, no longer supports the current issues or the current programs. The changes in the current year budget, we haven't had to use our capital outlay. Right now we have 30,000 in it. Obviously, the part-time RN hours increased during COVID. Typically, she usually works about 18 hours per week. There have been weeks when we had the cases that she had over 40 hours. She is continuing to work weekends. Our KDHE meetings have been cut down to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So she works Wednesday and Thursday doing immunizations, and then she's in the office on those days, but she continues on Monday and Friday to do the KDHE meetings online. She also checks 3 times a day, usually 3 times even over the weekends, for EPI, for any case results. And then she does make contacts if we should have someone in isolation and quarantine. those hours obviously will increase. Our part-time dietitian she typically works 40 to 60 hours a month, and she has been trained to do a contact tracer, and I'm not sure, I just got word about what happened with legislation, and I know there was a bit in there regarding contact tracing, and it kind of went back and forth as to whether that's going to be allowed or not. So that may increase her hours if we're still doing that. We did get supplemental COVID grant, the $14,188. That will probably be spent within that, probably by the end of June. But with that grant, I did have to write a budget for it, and then that will be quarterly, so we can use that money until, I believe it was February. Blue Cross Blue Shield, we got the $5,000 grant, and then Sunflower, the $1,500, which those we don't have to do reporting on, but most of that will go to salary for the nurse and Sherry for training for the dietitian. Child care licensing, that grant we will no longer have after June 30th. So the money, our grants, if you remember, our grants that we get through the state run July 1st to June 30th. So for the second half of this year, we won't be getting any child care licensing money. Now we will, after I do that, our FSRs, or financial status report, that are due July 15, that will, I'll show that we have used up all our child care monies, so we'll get our final reimbursement for the fourth quarter of that. But no further monies will be coming for that grant. The state has actually regionalized that, and so our child care surveyor will actually be out of Lyon County, as it was if they continue the regions like how they planned back in February. Anticipated personnel changes, that we do have a part-time person in preparedness, and that was added in March. And then Wendy, the nurse that was doing the hearing and vision screens, no longer wants to do that. However, she will help train someone we get in that position. Our child care surveyor, we've done some checking, and as long as she takes training for that, she will be doing the hearing and vision. So her child care duties will kind of slip over to the hearing and vision screenings. And so her hours will vary. It'll probably be more so in the fall, and then not as much, obviously, in the spring. She also did get training to be a WIC clerk, and that way if Lori is gone, then she can, on a Thursday, then Erin can slide over and do those, because as it is now, Sherry can do it, but they have to have two checks, cross checks, kind of when they give someone the voucher, so it can't always be done with just one person in the office. I did want to say our WIC is, right now, it's till the end of June, they are bringing appointments in only if they do height and weight and hemoglobin. Otherwise, everything's done over the phone. The Last one, capital outlay, I'm assuming Scott will carry that over, but we usually get together and work with that. I just wanted to mention that there was, if you look, so we'll just go on to the estimated expense worksheet. Tina, if you want to get that up. Because basically number 3 kind of explains why you see a dip in the 2018 actual. It was kind of a history. That was because we were down a part-time nurse. So the salary I have estimated, and that does include, if you scroll on down, there's the worksheet that Ashley kind of worked. And then I reworked it where it does show, I did go ahead and figure a 4% cost of living raise, and then that brings our salary category to $199,826. The contractual expenses, I have at 77,418, and I do have a worksheet for that if you want to scroll down. Right there is where it starts. And there hasn't been a lot of change. We did add AT&T as a backup over here. We did do our controlled pickup. You'll see it's kind of decreased a little because we did change companies. We are no longer, I didn't renew the KPHA membership. So basically, most of that stayed the same. Our electronic health records did increase about $1,000, but we do get, some of that is paid for by the SDMR grant that our region gets for preparedness, and they usually allow some for each county. I have also put in there, you can kind of see the, on our commodities, that pretty much stays the same. The commodities includes like nursing supplies, office supplies, and the fuel. I kind of kept that the same. The capital outlay, I did make a little, if you keep scrolling down, there's a kind of a forecasted right there. And we did get, in 2020, we did purchase some laptop for the epi nurse and the contact tracer so they can work from home. And we'll probably use some of those when we do out-of-town clinics, but that was, my understanding, will be taken out of some other, like Randy, the risk funds. So that kind of goes over our expenses. The WIC expense is broken out also, where the contractual is 7,965 and the commodities are 600. you have any questions on the expenses?
Yeah, I have one, Deidre. Why did you figure 4% raise on?
Why did I figure? I didn't know if we were ever going to go to get people up to that salary schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because this, if we ever get close to like that average, it's gonna take that long to bump that up.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So if you go to our income, estimated income, okay, the 97,372, that basically has to stay the same. I think most of you realize that when we get state formula funding, that if the amount of tax that was levied changes, then the amount of state formula, they will cut that the like amount. If you move on down to the daily receipts, I put 104,700, so that was an increase. And the preparedness, I put 14,709 because that is actually what the grant. If you want to scroll down, that shows our expenses, or I mean our income. And if you see on the top of that, it's the preparedness grant of 14,709. Then a little further down, the immunization action plan, 3,181. And those grants, remember, they run from July 1st to June 30th. The WIC grant, that actually runs from October 1st, because that's on a federal fiscal year, that goes October 1st through the end of September. The breastfeeding peer counselor is also tied into the WIC, and that one runs the same, October through September. Safe Kids, basically what that pays for, the 5,000 are that mini grants add up to that. The school screen contract is over at Special Ed Co-op. I believe they meet the week of the 15th, so hopefully it will be fine then. The state formula grant is $12,000. So if you look down to that chart kind of shows you, it gives you an idea of our state awarded grants. So 2021, we have state formula, which is 12,000. Last year, it was 8,104. They did legislation, they passed something recently, and that increased the base amount. The maternal child health, I went ahead and kept that in there. That is through Harvey County. The childcare licensing you saw, we got 6,806 last year, but no longer eligible because that has been regionalized, as I mentioned before. Immunization action plan, we did get a little more money for that, or we will be. And the preparedness, that was a small increase also. But if you look at the estimate budget, and then also you'll see that the preparedness is broken out, and so that's why the total on my estimated income is a little bit different than on the worksheet. Do you have any questions?
Deidre, this account,
Yes.
under the emergency order, some of the costs that's been incurred with the health department would be reimbursable at some point, and we're keeping records of those, I would guess.
Yes. We're doing like a 214, which is I've asked my employees to keep track of that because that will be what the form that's needed for FEMA to show the hours and the salary of that.
Thank you.
And then we've also kept track of what equipment, like, as I mentioned on some of those laptops, that should be reimbursed for that also.
Okay, anything else for Deidre? Okay, thank you, Deidre.
Thank you.
All right, Bryce?
Massive, man.
Oh, you decided to come in.
All right. First thing I have is, well, maybe transport fuel bids. And the pay was low. So I'd like request permission or request approval for $11,080.50 from the MFA.
I'll make a motion to approve the MFA bid on transport fuel, $11,080.50.
A motion by Kent, second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just out of curiosity, and I know every month or whatever else we do this, do you guys want to continue to make that a formal process, or are you okay with me just doing that and letting you know what it was? I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I go in all the time, and I think 99% of the time you approve the low bid, so I didn't know, but totally up to you. So, something to think about, I guess.
I like doing it this way. I like just the transparency of it. I know it doesn't take much time.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Sharon.
all the information's there.
Kind of gives us an idea of what the prices are, if nothing else.
I
Good.
kinda like the idea of just letting you go with it, but then you still bringing it.
I mean, I can't just say, hey, here's what the fuel bids
As
were,
long
but
as
it's
it's
just,
within 1%.
Yeah.
Or 2%,
right now they're very competitive, so.
Same paper.
yeah.
I like to see the same, I like to see them know that we got 3 bids. I mean,
Well,
at
we've-
least we know what's going on, plus if we're ever here when fuel prices, if they keep going up,
Yeah,
you start spending twice this amount of money
Oh,
for
sure.
a payday,
sure,
then it alerts all of us.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that position, so.
yeah,
It's kind of a good way to keep track of what the bid process is.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, like I said, I didn't care either way, but, you know, the price of fuel is slowly creeping up and nothing anywhere near, what it was, so we're still good shape. So.
I've been open every day.
Yeah, well, you know, that's one of the things, but-
Cases went up 10 cents this morning.
So just to clarify, the board wants to keep the process the same?
Yeah.
I think that was
Okay.
the consensus of the majority.
Oh, we've contacted the fourth one, but they've never wanted,
Yeah.
or never come back, so, but we still have the three, so, okay. Next thing is, sign, we went out for our next section of sign bids. National Sign was low bid at $38,953.01. DC Wholesale was at $49,005. This would be the replacement of the rest of our signs, or for another section of signs that need to be replaced out there that are faded or shot up or whatever the case may be. So this would start after we finish off all of our 911 intersection signs that they're probably another month to 6 weeks, maybe even 2 months getting done. So it's a continuation of what they've been doing in the last couple of years.
So where are we at with that? I mean, how much of our county's been covered, Bryce?
With the 911 or the rest of them?
I'm talking about just our intersecting signs.
They're probably another 6 weeks to 2 months to finish all them. We have all the signs, it's just a matter of putting them together, taking them out, and just canvassing the county to get them up, so.
So another 6 weeks to 2 months, or?
We'll have all those up, and then, by then, if, with approval, these should be ready to go.
What is this vendor, the second one?
Did I not put it on there? That is DC Wholesale. I'm sorry, I was gonna write that on there. I think they wrote DC on it, didn't they?
Yeah, Jim Paul, DC.
DC.
Yeah. Didn't follow DC, yeah.
Thank you.
Sheets are, I know you got quoting all or none, but
Both of them are that way. I just gave you the final total in the back. They actually had like 7 or 8 pages that I just didn't copy over there.
okay, yeah. Well, the one I saw just said 300 versus what, 600.
Yeah, they both quoted the same and
Okay.
everything, so. All or none, and that's what we've requested.
So
too,
they're all 12 gauge proof,
Yep.
not just 12 gauge.
Well, depends on the angle of hitting, I don't think we're getting so much shot up anymore, but we are reducing the amount that are stolen considerably. With these new pop rivets and stuff like that, they don't work loose, they're a lot harder. What we're finding out is they're going down the bottom and pulling the bolts and just laying over the whole sign. So we go back in and put them back up, but, you know, that's something we'll fight for however long it is to you know.
Well, Bryce,
so.
I'd just like to tell you, we started trying to get the whole county back up quite a few years ago. I mean, it's been all the time you've been in, because I know we started back when Paula was here. And so it's quite an accomplishment as far as I'm concerned, to get the signs back up on our corners and.
You know, and a lot of that, I mean, I've lived in Marion County for 20-some years, and I was even driving around, I mean, I'd go 4 or 5 miles before I could see a sign, so it was kind of concerning to me too, so. But we're like everybody else, we keep trying, and hopefully we can get ahead there.
It's amazing how many signs there are too, because I've seen the sign truck go by full of signs, thinking, oh, they got about 4 days work, and then in the day they go back and they're empty.
They've got a pretty good system where they call in locates just to make sure they drive the stubs, and then they spend a whole day putting up signs, and, you know, driving the stubs takes the time because they got to place them and get them everything else, so.
So did you see the sign on 330? Maybe you did it, I don't know. But it's funny, it's to me it's funny. But it's one of those signs, like if you come off a Quail and you turn 330, it's going west.
Oh yeah, the darn rough road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did that?
No, so one of the.
I mean, they did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, white, nice one.
It
In fact,
goes
is I turned that
It
into
says darn, they add the word darn to it.
Yeah.
So now it says darn rough road.
Yeah, I actually turned that in as part of our information for, obviously the locals can, you know, that too, so, but.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I just seen it the other day, I thought, look at that.
Yeah, so. Last week I talked to you about APAC was going to do some sealing over for Hillsborough on, would be our Jade Road and their Industrial Road. They came back with a proposal of $15,159.28. They did not include any mobilization in there because they're always going to be there. So it was just taxes and bond quantities on top of the actual price that they submitted to them. So, and if you guys were interested in that or not, if you want to look at this, whatever else, I just had the one copy since it's has the sign, so.
When we overlaid that, was that a half-half?
Yes, because the north half is city limits and the south half is county, so.
How many years ago has it been?
I don't know. I mean, it's
Three.
in decent shape, but like we talked about, now if they're gonna be seeing that part, it's so much better just to do it right now, and we'll stay ahead of the game there.
It's probably been 3 years.
Yeah. Been since you've been in it?
Yeah. Wasn't that the same time we did all of these little
Yeah, I
stretches?
don't
You weren't
know.
here with,
Yeah.
you know, we did about, what was there, about 5 short stretches out here around Strasburg,
Yeah.
down on the south
What
part
was
of
it,
the county.
was it 90th?
90th, yeah.
90th east of there?
What's the frequency that it's actually recommended to do this?
We've got all of our roads set up on a 4-year frequency. We talked about it, that at the work study, whether we wanted to go to a 5 or 6. Like anything else, whatever you cut back on, that just extends the program out longer. So 4 years it works well for the 30 to 40 mile an hour range for the county. But obviously we could go back and, you know, this one here, I'm guessing if we go in there and seal that road, we're looking at good, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, just speculating on what that'll hold out then. So we shouldn't have to worry about that
Is
at all.
this chip and seal or is this?
Yep.
Chip and seal?
Yep.
Reasonable price, but,
Well, like I said, they're gonna be there and they're just gonna go do the whole thing and.
So we pick up half of that? or
No,
that's our-
this is our half.
That's our half?
Yeah.
It's a busy road. We invested in overlay in it.
I was gonna say, when we did the one I read back in the 2000, even back then it was recommended within 5 years that it be done,
Yeah.
sealed.
Yeah.
So this is within the 5.
I guess this is an opportunity for us. It might be, next year might cost more too.
Well, and
It
you know,
will be
cost
cheaper.
more and who knows what's gonna happen between now and next year too, so. You know, and it's like anything else, how the road performs when you first do it. I know on 330th up there, we've got a lot of cracks showing up and I don't know if it's water underneath the road or whatever else. So we may be having to do some stuff earlier than we expected there too. So, just something we have to watch. So, but anyway, like I said,
I'd make the motion to go ahead and approve the chip sealing for the half mile of industrial, is it industrial? Jade.
It's actually Jade for us.
Actually Jade,
Yeah.
and half mile for Jade.
You talked about
At
noon
the
of,
cost of $15,159.28.
you talked about no mobilization. What would a mobilization added onto that with the cost?
Not that much, and that was just the idea they've got to get their distributor over here, their chip
Right.
spreader. So it may have been, you know, maybe a couple $100 or $1,000, but they said, hey, we're already going to be there.
Yeah.
So not a huge amount, but it's just a
Still
matter of.
savings, yeah.
Yeah.
Motion by Randy, a second by Dave. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay, and there's a
And,
place on this that I think you can sign on the accepted line there, Joe.
Do we need to take action on the signs?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of skipped over that, so.
I'll make a motion on the 300 signs, National Sign Company, the amount of $38,953.01.
More than 300 signs.
Yeah, that was just the last sheet that I copied for the
Oh,
final
okay.
total. Yeah, there's actually 7 pages of
Okay.
signs in there.
The sign purchase
Yes.
amount of $38,953.01.
Second.
Got a motion by Kent, second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
Okay. I heard this last week, our high-risk rural roads program for the 190th and Nighthawk intersection was also approved. So I'll start the process of getting that whole thing going there too. So that was for $200 and some thousand. So get started on that, just FYI. And
What was that at? What was the street address?
the 190th and Nighthawk, we were going to put up some rumble strip lights, flashing lights on stop signs and
Right.
stuff. A little bit of grade control coming in so.
Sure be real nice after we get it all.
Well, I hope
paved.
so. You know, and whether it's nice, it's just more safe. Let's put it that way. We can't ever say that 100% getting rid of accidents, but
I didn't get nothing thrown at me by any of the other commissioners. I was waiting for something to be thrown at me.
do they do that often?
Well, they might.
Okay. And then I heard from Cornejo, they will hopefully be finishing up on 150th and move to K15 maybe this week. So we should be getting 90th overlaid hopefully the middle to end of next week. So we're gonna go over there and make sure there's nothing else need to be done on it, just to make sure it's ready for them.
Notice they've already grounded.
Yeah, they milled. Yeah. Yeah. So that project should go fairly fast. They're like, just bringing in the asphalt out of Wichita. So, but other than that, I think that was it. So we're continuing to blade patch, and we probably got another probably good 4 weeks yet, and then we'll start in on our chip seal stuff. And so, alrighty. Anything else?
Is there any new rebuilds starting?
We're gonna take this week off. We had some guys finish off planting and stuff like that. We're gonna start up north of town on Sunrise. Got 2 miles to go up there. Working our way down south. Vista as well as Xavier are totally covered with rock now. So those are, I did let the school know that they could use that. Basically unconditionally, just, obviously make sure, be careful. But other than that, we're done up there. Well, we're done with the base rock. When we get it packed in a little more, we'll go back to the surface rock. So, but yeah, we're working on Sunrise, and then gradually start working our way south and east, or south and west, excuse me. So,
Did you hire that rock job out on Diamond?
yes, yep. We got all those guys hauling for us now too. So, all right.
Wait.
Oh.
What you just said, Kent, and what he just done, and he just told us about our budget here a couple weeks ago. We gotta put some sort of lid on this guy. I mean, I'm not meaning a lid.
No, I understand.
I want to say that,
Yeah.
what are we gonna come up with the money? And, cause he's gonna be over his budget.
Right.
And where we had it, that's, I mean, you can't just send a man out and say, go do 10 miles and then, oh, give me the bill. So I'm just wanting to know where Bryce is headed, and I appreciate what you've done. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get us some cash here to.
Well, we've talked about that. Is we're trying to get the roads covered up, but yeah, when and where do we stop? So I wish I had a crystal ball that'd be able to tell exactly where we're going to be, but it just doesn't work that way.
Right. So, think about it before we go too much deeper in debt.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we're gonna have to figure out what is a reasonable rock budget for Marion County, because we haven't come up with that yet. In the years that I've been here,
We're only
what's a reasonable rock?
halfway through the year, and that's what's we've got time between now and the end of the year.
And we haven't even come up with the quality rock or standard rock.
Yeah.
We haven't done any of that.
So I just.
I mean, you need to keep that in mind, because when I started here, it was three-quarter million for the rock budget, and then it went up to, what, 900,000?
We're at 900 this year.
We were through that in 6 months.
Yeah. We're at 900,000 for this year, and
that's not to say the next 2 years we won't have drought, and we'll be able to work everything up and get all the rock out of the ditches and not have to spend a dime, but I doubt it.
I'd like to say that's optimistic, but I think most of the farmers may have another side of that to being, going to a drought. But yeah, it's
right.
That's what's coming.
We don't want a drought.
Yeah,
we've gone through a year and a half of flood.
Yeah.
And what Diane said is, right now we've heard in the wintertime everybody just hauling rock, and I think they're still hauling rock. I mean, from what I'm seeing. But is there anything available, Bryce? I mean, I don't know. I mean, should I go find out myself? I don't want it.
You mean for other rock?
For hard rock.
Well, it's the rock is being produced. The rock is being produced wherever. I mean, they're making all the rock. I don't know what they're making specifically. A lot of times this time of year, they're still making KDOT, contractor rock, for the asphalt projects and stuff like that. But I mean, that rock is always still available. It's just a matter of that extra money to bring it in here right now, because that's the extra thing is we turn around and start paying the $7 to $8 a ton on top of what we're paying before. We still do have the smaller rock available down at Harshman's also, that's from Melbourne. So we can use that, we just can't be using it for most of our situations right now, so.
And when we're looking at rock budget, you know, we need to take for granted that a certain percentage of that needs to be hard rock. Cause I mean, just those little short stretches we did, I mean, that piece going on west of my place on 290th.
Yeah, the only.
Nobody can believe that it didn't fall, it never fell through.
Yeah, the only real comment was Will's like, I'm afraid to touch it, it's performing so well, and I said, but it was getting a little rough, but he went in and bladed it up, but, you know, and that's what it comes down to, is it's like, wow, you know, where is that trade-off
Yeah.
between those two?
I mean, if we can somehow increase the budget enough to really do some good with it, and then maybe the next year we could back off a little bit. I don't know what the answer is, but it sure seems to work.
Well, and obviously the other.
How many of them tests, you had 2 miles for everyone, but how many of them test spots did you get accomplished? That was one of them that you're talking about, right?
And then we had 250th west of K15 was done, and then we'd started on Falcon south of 56.
Well, I'd like to see at least a mile done of the other projects that you had to start with. I mean, is commission?
I haven't had any test strips in my district, but I'm sold on the hard rock.
You
I
didn't
mean,
have no test strips up there?
No, I've had no test
We
strips
started
at all.
going in that
Well,
way.
I didn't either, except for this one we started on Falcon there. We
And
didn't get down
honestly,
to it.
economically speaking, based on just what I even heard here with your testimony on your road, and I know what Linda Peters had put on her road, and the
Right.
way it's standing up, yeah, you pay a little bit more up front, but on the long haul, you're saving. I mean, and that's where I've always gone with the hard rock business, is, you know, yes, it costs more money up front, but most of the rock that we put on up in my district, mostly gone. So as soon as we get a rain event again, and I don't know when that's gonna be, we're gonna have more people screaming and yelling again, and we're how many hundreds of thousands of dollars out.
The only thing that I heard Bryce say, he's got the rock in it, but it's not for the right reason right there. The smaller stuff, screenings, is that?
Well, no, it's not screenings, it's like 1.25 inch, 1 inch material, it's not the bigger stuff that we've been putting in the soft spots.
Stuff that should be laying over the top.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'd still like to see, so we can see, I mean, I haven't been over that lately, Kent, what you're talking about, I haven't drove.
Well, another point that Bryce brought up, and it's a cost saving on the other end.
Yes, yes.
If you get a road in good shape, and the maintainer says, I better stay off of it, isn't that saving money?
Yeah.
Yeah. It got to the point where, Loyal, you need to hit it because it was a little rough.
And
But
if we did that again, Bryce, then you just said it, you'd like to bring the road back up to get it in shape before we ever put any on there.
well, let me go back and look at that. Maybe we'll come up with something to where we figure out, because we've got these guys hauling. Now, the other downside to going to get that rock is that we only get half as much put down in a day per truck, simply due to the longer trip.
Right.
But that's what it's inevitable.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
if we stockpiled something in the wintertime,
Well, right, and I mean, that's the time to do it, but unfortunately, that's what we can't, you know, there's nothing we can do about it right now, so.
no.
But,
No.
let me come back with something and propose to you guys and
Okay.
see what you wanna do with that.
Everybody's talking about district, but I would see the furthest point away from Florence, or you've got to get closer to a breakover point for commercially hauling it in, because your truck's going out there day by day,
Mhm.
the haul, the distance. Eventually, that number's got to get closer to the commercial hauler, the further you can get away from Florence.
Yeah, well, and you look at the unit cost, they're hauling more material than we do also.
So if
So
you're
that's
going
it.
to do hard rock, a good place to do all the test strips would probably be up in his area up there. 'cause
Well,
then we're paying
and
for
one of
that.
the reasons why those two areas got done was that Rasloff was hauling, they were right there. So it worked out the best for
Where
them. so.
he lives.
Yeah.
Then we're not really talking about a financial burden, because it's gonna be a wash when you get further up that way.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's just like Diamond. You couldn't have done all that last week with our trucks, could we? Not even got close. You know, you just
So you
done.
haul on Diamond again?
Yeah, we've got some bad spots up there we're trying to get covered up, and it's just like every other place that, you know, that,
I can tell you, Diamond's had over 100,000 spent on it a couple of years back.
It just
And
feels-
so what I'm getting at is, how can, you just said it, how can we not be fair to taxpayers in both ends of the county, everywhere, and not take the rock all over our county? I mean, even though what you're saying is true, but yet there's taxpayers everywhere that would like to see them start rock too.
Right, and I don't dispute that, I'm just
No, I
saying.
know you don't, but I'm just saying.
We don't have to try to prove the numbers quite as much if we go target a little bit up there.
Part-
And it also takes some of the load off of you
Yeah.
to get
So,
back over
our
here.
trucks.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
farther you get away from Florence or Marion or wherever, the more, you know, fiscally sound it is to get somebody to bring it in.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the other things to look at is if we,
Not fair.
we're in the north part of the county was, okay, now we're to, as far as Lincoln quarries, you know, how much is it comparable now to start hauling up Lincoln quarries, because they have extremely hard rock too, so. But that's the thing. Now, some of the issues, just for instance, on Diamond I think are caused by some springs or some subgrade problems that have popped up with the
It's
you know,
all
the spring,
all
yeah.
along there.
Yeah, but unfortunately, with the amount of traffic on there too, it's hurt too, so. But anyway, I'll get back to
So I
this.
wanted to ask the commission, I say we need to go back and have another work session. The last work session that we had with Road and Bridge somehow turned into the 5-year plan. And that was not my intent ever for the work session. The work session was to actually discuss some of these things like the hard rock and what farmers can do and what we want to do with people buying and doing their own roads and people using, you know, the ditches. And I mean, we have a lot of ongoing issues that we keep bouncing the ball back and forth. And that's what I thought the work session was all about the last time. And so when we come into the work session, now all of a sudden, I don't know when it changed, but it was 5 years forward. We never took care of issues that we have right here and solved and actually came up with a hard rock plan. Trucking, are we gonna take bids on trucking? Are we gonna keep the trucking rates down? I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to address that I thought was what the work session was gonna be about, which is why I waited all those extra months trying and preparing for it and come in and it was 5-year plan ahead. So we still have a lot of unsolved and Bryce is kind of filling in the gaps, but he has no real direction.
Well, it all should have been part of the 5-year discussion, I mean, that's a
Well,
plan.
But
Well, no,
everybody
but-
had to leave, and it was cut short. We didn't go into the afternoon because we lost a couple of people.
Well, we've talked about it for a long time, but there was some subject matters that were brought up on the issue today, and then were corrected that we need to stay on the 5-year plan. So, I mean, those topics were actually brushed aside when we should have actually addressed them.
Well, I think being it's budget time, we could have a work session just on the discussion of gravel, how we're gonna buy it, how we're gonna get it hauled. I mean, in the end, it's gonna come down to a dollar figure on your budget.
Exactly, I mean, if you want me to haul all hard rock, then I just have to have the extra money.
You don't
I
know
have
what
no
figure,
problem.
you don't know what figure to use if you don't have some direction
You know,
from us.
Yes.
so-
And that's the biggest chunk of your budget.
Yeah.
So maybe we just need to have a work session on that.
And I just want, did I hear you say that Lincolnville had extremely hard rock? Did I hear you say that?
Lincoln.
Or did I?
Lincoln County,
Lincoln County?
yes.
Okay, I
Or
heard you say Lincoln.
wherever
I
the
heard.
quarries are, I know they're
Okay,
extremely hard,
yeah,
but,
Yeah, okay, got it,
so,
Lincoln County. All right.
but, that's what you wanna do, then just let me know, so.
And we got one other thing, supposed to be brought back, about price of the shed with the angle.
The Grizzly?
The Grizzly, there you
screen,
go.
okay.
The Grizzly, yes. Thank you very much, Tina, for, it's supposed to be right here.
Shed with an angle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's the rock screener.
It's rock
Yeah,
screener, yeah.
I suppose you put plywood over to be a shed, but you know.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you wanna push that off, I've got enough stuff going on right now that, we won't be able to get to it right away, but, if you wanna bring it up.
So it's for sale, I mean, you can buy one any day at
Yep.
that price?
That was a
They have them in
brand new
stock.
price.
Brand new
Yep,
price,
yep.
okay.
So,
And when's the quickest that we could get any crushing done this winter?
well, for 2 reasons. Number one, the crushers are busy now. Second of all, we'll get a lot better price this winter.
Yeah.
So, on the amount of tons we're talking about, so.
Did anybody have ask a
But you know, you're talking about hard rock and that plays into it. from what I've seen, McPherson,
Yeah.
I thought McPherson County had dumped some hard rock on some of their sand roads.
Yeah,
We come to find out it's crushed concrete.
yeah.
And I've driven over that, and it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
County did that?
Yeah, McPherson County did it.
McPherson County did, okay.
In
Yeah.
northern McPherson County. I thought it looked so strange, because they're always sanding everything, and all of a sudden I'm on a gray road, and I asked Bryce, I said, do they buy any hard rock? And he said, well, he said he thought that they were doing some crushed concrete.
Yeah.
But, it rained on it. It got hard.
Yeah.
It kind of
Well,
reconstituted it. so.
And the big thing about that is, it's a stronger material having to cement it. Second of all, it doesn't absorb our moisture, or very little. And that's what kills us on most of our roads is water.
So,
But
we need
Anyway,
to
that's-
utilize that much we can.
yeah, like I said, we can come up
And
with something.
you are right, Bryce, this, call it shed. Grizzly,
Stream, whatever, yeah.
you would get to use it when you think you could really use it? This
Well,
fall, probably?
Anytime. I mean, it's something as long as we can
Are
get
we
some
short on
material.
people right now and doing all the road projects?
Well, yeah, we're short of people all over the place,
Well,
but that's what I'm saying. I can push it off for how long? Because we're really pushing hard to get the blade patching done and into the chip seal.
Yes.
And that should take us into the middle of August.
Yeah.
So, but that takes most of the guys just in all those those.
First of September, you'd like to have one, so if we get a chance, but
It would be nice.
okay,
Yeah. So
17,000 something.
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Grizzly.
Yeah, grizzly shed, grizzly shed.
Grizzly shed.
Grizzly lean-to.
Lean-to, there you go. Thank you, Bryce.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Bryce. All right, so Michelle on Skid?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
And I've got tons of emails about that.
We received some documents from the state, and Michelle, I sent those to you. Just want to make sure you received the documents from Department of Commerce.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and I think that what you all were hoping to discuss is how to, we have an application form from the Department of Commerce that we will have to use for the grant. But I think that Diane, you had asked Brad, and then between Brad and Michelle, that you maybe could discuss and come up with how the rankings of those businesses would take place when they apply. I would foresee that maybe would be an important thing to try to nail down. And there are probably other things that we would need to decide. So, Michelle, do you have any specific things about what we need to do to move forward?
The biggest thing is just being the paperwork that they send to you, filled out and sent back to them, because you can't really draw any money or do anything until they have all their required documents. So you got the contract, which will need to be signed. You'll need to pick people who can authorize, like, the draws once everything's approved from the state or paperwork for the money to give to the businesses. I always recommend 4 people just in case someone's sick or leaves. Your bank authorization forms, every banquet, fill all that out. Gotta go through all of them. But they're pretty standard forms, and if you have any questions, I can always help you fill them out. But for the application and the ranking process, I would probably say once you're ready to put it out, I would set a date to have it turned back in by. The people who go in first, maybe put them as priority, and also people who haven't received any assistance yet from any phone programs or any other programs can get more points than others. I'm not sure if anyone had any ideas on what they wanted to prioritize as getting points or ranking them higher than other people.
My personal opinion is if they didn't get the PPP or the or the idle loan, that they ought to be moved to the first, the top. If they got one or the other, they should be in the second tier. If they got both, they should put them down in the third tier.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one. Way to
Just-
do it.
That way the money gets used to the people who've got nothing so far first.
The
This
big
is,
thing is they have to make sure they understand that if they did get like the PPP loan or any of those other loans, that they can't use these funds for like payroll, then they can use it maybe for like rent or other things, and that they understand that's a big one. You have to make sure everyone understands when they're applying for the fund.
Yeah, that would be applying for their inventory or something else rather than
Yeah.
payment. But I still think that the money should go first to somebody who's not received any payment.
The ones that have
or-
slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, the ones that we were holding out for on the old community foundation, we talked about, we wanted to wait to see who fell through the cracks before we started funding just whatever else.
And so then my question to you is, I know since Marion and them did not receive any grant, we have $167,000.
We gotta share it with everyone.
That's right, and you have a lot now.
It's not gonna go very far.
It's not gonna go very far at all. So how do we get the word out to all those businesses? Because you're ultimately gonna come up with somebody that's gonna say, I didn't even know. How are we gonna get, and that's kind of concerning to me too, how are we gonna get the word out to everybody? That, to put in an application where this is available, or contact whoever you want to do, your commissioner, your district, or however, to get the forms or whatever. How are we gonna do that to make sure everybody is aware? Because to allow anybody not to be aware is a problem, I think. Brian, you're shaking your head, do you agree with that?
Some of it too, though, is, we try, and then, so we haven't dropped the ball there. I know I've tried, and a few other people have signed, I believe, some applications. The other part is if it's kind of like the PPP. If people didn't know it was available, didn't get it, they all qualified for it. If they're not on the stick, they just don't qualify. You don't get it.
Right, but what I'm trying to get to is like, okay, I'll use myself as an example. So, if it's my job to go out and get the word out into my district, I'm gonna go to the people that I know first.
Well,
Okay?
other than word
That's
of-
not fair, and that's not right, because they've got an advantage there then. So, I was just asking for ideas as to how do you
It's-
get it out. Now, true, if they don't watch the news or whatever,
Right.
that's their problem, but.
It has been, I believe the newspaper wrote an article on how cities didn't get it, we did. I know Tina's put it out on the website, and I've actually went there to grab the applications to give to other people. It's on the Facebook page.
No, and I think that, as you develop your criteria of how you're ranking these, and as you develop your application period for the county to utilize, that new information has to be pushed out. And so it would be pushed out potentially through the newspaper, definitely through social media, online, and I can send that also out to the city clerks to share with their local businesses and mayors and city councils. But I don't know that we have other means available beyond that to push that out. Social media can be really effective if people actually share that information. It can go really far and be really broad. I plan to do all those things, but it's just a matter of if there's anything else, that you can think of, like, I don't know.
Okay. Out of this $167,000, how much goes to the grant administrator?
Yeah, it was gonna be less than
15,000.
15.
15? So we're looking, okay, at 15,000,
And I
right?
think part of yours was also, when the public notice was supposed to be for food.
Yeah, so we had, I noticed on the budget forms, and that was a question that I had, that we did have the 35,000 of our total is for food programs, because that's how we had initially said, we applied for 50 for food and 300 for for the businesses.
Yeah.
And so they approved and awarded based on that budget. And so my question, I guess, Michelle, that I wanted to find out, are we able to do a revised budget and move, you can't move from food to economic development funds, or can you?
You can't, because they I think they capped at 132 for everyone else who just applied for the economic development grant
Okay.
side of it. So you can't move the 35,000 over there, unfortunately.
Okay, that's one thing I needed to clarify. And on the food, I know that initially the city of Marion was applying for the food bank that's located in Marion, and so we could potentially carry that forward. And the only other entity that I had been in touch with that was even still slightly interested in maybe doing a food program was USD 398. So I could check back with them to see if they're still planning to do anything. I haven't heard anything, so I kind of I felt like that had kind of gone by the wayside with them. But we could definitely carry forward on the application for the food bank that's located in Marion, because the community of Marion does qualify LMI on the community.
Does it only go for a food bank, or could it be, because I know through the whole COVID shutdown, Keith's Foods there was giving away, donating food for a lot. I mean, it was very valiant.
Michelle, can you hear Jonah? Do you understand his question?
Sorry, I couldn't hear it very well.
Oh, sorry. There's a grocery store down in the southwest part of the county that really stepped up during this whole crisis and gave away food and took donations and gave that away. Didn't know if it was just for food banks or if it was for something like that, where they made big leaps in trying to help the community.
I'd have to check with the Department of Commerce probably to see if they would allow funds to go to them or not.
The one thing to keep in mind is the community that it serves has to meet the low to moderate income requirements, and I don't believe Gossel meets it on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that just clears it up. I just, when somebody steps up to make a good example, I just try to
So
look out.
basically we have 100 and, I'm sorry, we have the 117,000, I believe, is for the businesses, is what we can distribute.
So I was just gonna say, on the food banks, I happen to know at the food bank and stuff, because I was at the food bank during the heart of the crisis, and they had gazillions of donations and stuff like that. When I was down there and stuff like that, I didn't know this, but I was told by Gene Winkler that the Mormon churches and stuff had given a couple $100,000 to all the food banks, and then the biggest thing of all was the CEO of Amazon gave something like a multi-millions just to the food banks, and he was saying, boy, they had more food than they know what to do with and all that stuff. I mean, the food banks were really, by big donations, really well taken care of.
But all those big donations went out to hundreds of different locations.
Well, that's true, but everybody got their portions.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know our local food bank here got a portion. So that would almost to me be like the PPP and all that type of stuff. They got donations and stuff. We got help.
I see
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right, but the city still had applied for the food bank for this grant, and for us to be able to utilize it, I mean, otherwise we'll have to turn it back, and we
So
won't
we
be
have
able
do
to
that
provide
out of the
help.
152, or is that additional too?
No. This is,
Part of it.
yes. So we have 117,000 available for the businesses.
Does that, what, come out to like $50 a piece or something like that? I mean, just off the top of my head. I mean, it's really gonna dwindle it down.
Well,
That's what we have to decide.
Well,
Do we
that's
have
based on
minimums
the
or
award that they
maximum?
gave us.
Yeah, I
So-
understand. I'm just,
Is the Peabody Food Bank doing anything?
I checked with them, and they didn't have a need at the time when I checked with them, so.
Yeah, with this program, we're only gonna be able to help 10 or 15 people.
Yeah, but it might be,
There's minimums and maximums.
Well, no, okay.
it might be the most in need though. I mean, there's some people that haven't got a paycheck, can't get unemployment 14 weeks. I mean, those are the people we really need to be targeting.
Yeah, and they need to step forward and apply. So it's just gonna be word of mouth.
Does it have to be a business?
I think it's gotta be a.
Yes.
Okay.
It's designed to replenish your inventory so you can keep doing business.
Or payment.
Like a restaurant, buy food, or, like me, buy t-shirts so we can print them and sell them to create business.
Yeah,
It can even be an ag-related business.
yeah, it can be ag.
Buy seed to plant so we can.
Well, just looking at what's happening to these ranchers right now and the cattle prices, they need it just as much as anybody.
Yeah, this isn't gonna go very far, I'm sorry to say, it's gonna be.
So if a participant, like a restaurant participates and they're awarded $5,000, what's the payback on that? None?
It's
None, it's a grant.
Grant, it's all grant, okay.
Yep. Yeah,
It's just to help them to survive. We'll get started back up again.
Right, in addition to what we discussed, what would you add to it?
Well, the ones when I did some calling, that kind of hit all the major points, but dollar limit, which you already alluded to, minimum, maximum, or just a set amount. And that's a little tough because you don't know exactly how many you're going to get, but I suspect enough that this money's going to be exhausted very quickly, unless you really go small with these and then they're inconsequential. And the other is kind of what was being talked about now. What's your target? I mean, these are businesses. What is it that you want to do with this? I mean, the whole goal in this starts at the state level too, is we want to keep businesses in business. So we want to say this is primarily going to be an inventory replenishment type of a fund, or are we going to, and those people get a priority? I agree with the other one, the PPP or any other kind of grant or loan program already participated and should be disclosed and the awards given. Those moved down a little bit because there's a lot of people in this county who really haven't received anything. They don't qualify for anything, the unemployment even or anything else. So finding something for a smaller business setting, it's some targeted certain sizes of businesses. And I don't know that we want to do that in this kind of a melting pot county, but it's really tough.
It is tough.
And we've got $117,000 just a drop in the bucket, let's face it. So it's really more of a
operation.
Yeah, we're going to spread a little sunshine.
35,000 or 34,000, whatever Tina just said, is food. So you've got a dividing point already that I'm looking at restaurants.
Yeah.
Let's take over the restaurants.
No, food is for emergency meal program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
they're not- it's
restaurants
not
would
for
fall
restaurants.
into
It's gotta go to
the,
food
they fall
bank.
into the business
Okay.
side.
Yeah, we can give
Well, I said
each
We
restaurant.
had 167.
Right.
So food got 50?
Food got 35.
35.
And the rest
15 for
administration.
administration and
Oh, okay.
117
The
for.
administration. Yeah, that got me.
That was my first question.
50,000 off
You
the
wasn't
top.
paying no attention, was you?
We could take like each restaurant in Marion County.
Our heart was
And
at
give
the
them
right place.
$5,000
but I'm just
and I'll be
thinking that we
gone
should have
for it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
but some of them
Yeah.
receive
It's
other
tough to know
grants.
how to distribute.
It is, I'm afraid we're gonna get some backlash.
Well, I think, just to get back to where we need to be, I think, the criteria, those that have gotten PPE
Oh,
should come down the list. I mean, the biggest thing is we set the criteria.
Yeah.
That needs a big question on the form.
I think it is.
Have you received other loans?
I think there's a question
Well,
on
the
the
loans are
grants.
grants.
Stimulus package.
There's certain
Government
loans.
funds, government assistance.
And then I think also we probably need to approve the contract today. Would you agree with that, Michelle?
Which kids?
Yeah, I would.
With the Department of Commerce?
So I did miss something here, because the 15,000 I thought was if we got the 300,000. I thought it was going to be prorated down if we didn't get the full amount.
So it's 15,000 for, it's either 10% or 15,000, whichever one is less. And the Department of Commerce ended up changing pretty much all the admin, or they decided it. That's what they put on your budget. So think they based it off of 117 and 35,000. And yeah, 10% of what they gave me for the economic development and the meal program would have been 15,200, so they ended up just awarding us the 15,000 for admin.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, they adjusted it. They were the ones that ended up deciding all of our admin, because they changed it on any of the other ones that were out there for people too.
Okay. Just making sure that was cleared up. I guess I've already said what I'm in favor of. I mean, I'm first come, first served. If they got no PPP, no IDL, first come, first served. And the second tier, if they only got one of those, and first come, first served in the third tier, if they happen to have gotten both of those, and a cap of $7,000.
Motion.
No, I'm just seeing what your thoughts are. If anybody disputes any of that, or
Well, the criteria, I think that's the only way you can do it, and be fair.
so.
It's just a dollar amount.
I was shooting 5, well, that's what I was first thought, 5,000, but
5.
that's 20.
5 make yeah, that's 20. So
Yeah.
that maybe make more sense.
I mean, if we're talking about small business, is 5,000 gonna make much difference? Probably.
Quite
7.
a bit if it's just a single
Right.
person show. I mean,
Buy a
that's
week's worth of food for the restaurant.
5,000 gives them
Yeah.
about $400 a week paycheck
We'd be
that they
able
haven't
to,
had.
we'd be able to fund a few more
They
that way.
can't be paychecks.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you can if they didn't get.
Yeah, they
if
can
have
if they
already
didn't get
received
If
it.
they can get PPP.
Okay.
So Brad, chime in, I can tell you.
Well, I'm just thinking of some other things in terms of, you mentioned small business repeatedly. Do you want to set a limit, number of employees? I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to carve this out. Because if we don't have enough applications at 5,000, you can open it back up again. I would assume we can go that route, but it's just tough to know what your interest level is going to be. It appears that if it gets around, people are going to apply. This is what I call, I don't want to call it free money, but.
Everybody
it is
I've
grant.
talked to said they'd apply.
Yeah.
We just need to get applications and sort them out and just
Well,
decide.
we need to have the criteria.
And we gotta set the criteria because the administrative has to sort them out. So it's not a.
It gets back to your target.
Yeah, it's.
If you
So
want to
are
use
we
small
in
business,
agreement on
less than
how we're
25
gonna
employees.
grade
we want
Less
that.
than
I'm in
25, how many do we
agreement
have that
on
has
grading.
25?
Yeah, I know,
there?
I'm just throwing out a number, but yeah, you could go less than 10, whatever you wanted to do. If the target here, again, it's back to that same nomenclature.
Oh, as far as employees.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
The first form has
yeah, that's probably.
6 to 10 and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's 2
Well, there are
tiers.
2 separate categories.
Yeah, 1 to 5 and 6 to 500 or something.
Mhm. And you could limit that down, I would presume.
And we could always just
And-
go with the first tier too, the 1 to 5s.
Mhm.
It's gonna fill up quickly, you don't have enough money to go very far.
Yeah.
So if the goal is for the small business person, the 1 to 5 would be.
Who hasn't got
start
anything, who
with
hasn't got
small.
anything yet.
Yeah.
And then $5,000 cap.
I would guess anyone that slipped through the cracks are probably gonna fall into that criteria anyway.
It just tightens it down.
Yeah, it gives
Streamlines
you
it.
a little bit more of a laser focus on it to start with. I would be
They
surprised
have
if you don't
income
get a lot of
level,
people
too.
applying.
Well, I guess I'm a little hesitant to make the motion because I don't know if I want
Well, we need to
to,
approve it.
anything is left out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of all the details.
Well, you can always add a lot of other pieces to it, but the more you do, the tougher the administration, the more likely it is that we become too targeted. And then we have people going, I wasn't even given an opportunity for this. And I can't believe, I've been a county resident and I've been a business owner for 30 years, and somehow I didn't fit into what you guys put down. So I'm just trying to keep it at something you can administer.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have a problem with exhausting it.
So could you, and this is probably gonna get me in trouble, but could you also include something like, now, everybody was hurt, everybody was affected in some fashion, but you have some, what if you're talking about ag, okay? So if you talk about ag, some of those ag people are very, very savvy business people, and they're way up there in the income bracket. And they might only have 3 or 4 employees. Do we want to maybe, or can we, maybe eliminate some of that? I'm just asking.
Well, I don't think so.
It's tougher to do. If your gross receipts do not exceed, I mean, I can see where I could define it, but I'm not sure how easily that's gonna be.
Well, I know when they
justified.
first handed out the PPP money, where'd it go? We got all these millions of dollars to the big companies, is what I'm saying. They qualified for the criteria, but they were big, they would have recovered anyway, probably, before some of it. And that's just why it comes to my mind.
We still have the requirement for these
It
funds
still has to be all
that at
Yeah.
least 51% of the business's employees cannot be over the low to moderate income level. So you already have that built in. As far as, because and it looks at their adjusted gross, I believe their annual household income. So.
Okay, so if it's a household income criteria, how is that then a business income?
It's the business's employees. The business's employees have to be at low to moderate income level. At least 51% of their employees have to meet that criteria for their household income in order for that business to qualify for the grant. And
See,
so,
now that part I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's an inherently, that provides an inherent constraint to a degree, because
Yes.
even if you didn't limit number of employees up to, let's say, 500, you could have a whole bunch of very low-wage people and still have a big business.
right.
So there's still that problem, but it's tougher, because your gross income can be taken into account. In order to pay that many people, you gotta make some money in the course of the year, so.
And sometimes it's not all what you see on paper either.
Right.
I mean, there's
The
a lot
bigger
of.
you are, the more you lose sometimes too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just a number of ways this can go.
A lot of those type of businesses are asset rich and cash poor.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
they look good on paper with they always carrying a note.
Farmers do a
But
lot of
what it
that.
comes down to is whether at least 51% of their employees are at low
Right.
to moderate income level. And if they're not, they don't qualify.
Wonder how a business does that. I mean, if I have like 2 employees,
There's
how do I know what the wife is bringing in,
There's a
the
form.
husband's bringing in?
Yeah, there's
You
a
have to
form
actually
that you-
disclose all that
Yeah.
Get off your tax
The-
return.
for the business to get that
The
money.
the
How?
business has to, their employees have to fill out a form.
Yeah,
So there's a little work in this.
Well, there's a lot of work in
Yeah.
this. It's like,
Yeah, I've already heard that from several sources.
Nothing's easy.
I don't know if you guys are, if it's not a whole lot of money, I may not even do it. Most will. I mean, they'll try, but again, the problem is getting
That's
all
what
our
I say,
employees
is
to cooperate.
$5,000 enough to give them incentive to do it?
Yeah.
I guess,
Well,
it depends on your situation.
If you need it bad enough, you go after 5,000 bucks.
One of my personal rankings after this deal is food service, period. Because if the food service goes away and when we're shut down like we was, this country's gonna dry up, so, I mean, yeah, there
You
was.
want to include food service and borders.
Yeah, because bars weren't allowed to open for the longest time.
Yeah, bars don't make me a bit of difference.
I don't, yeah,
But,
I'm not a big bar person either,
But it's just what I'm saying, when I was out there trying to do my job, either I took food from home, or else I tried to find a restaurant in the town that I'm working in, and, there was, our town shut down, our restaurant did for 2 weeks. It seems quite strange when you can't go no place for food.
Well, I know.
and you gotta have the drink to go with it.
Water.
You should never eat without drink, like with water, whatever.
But is it okay to give a certain type of business preferential
That's
ranking?
why I was
That's the
pausing before,
question.
that's kind of tough. It's better if we can do it with a generic form of filter than saying, okay, we're only going to do this for certain service industries, the way of, food service or whatever else it may be. That's tough. I think you do get people coming, wait a minute, this is a state and county funded program, how do you limit us?
can't discriminate.
Yeah.
No, we can't limit the types of business.
I don't think, I would advise that, even if you could, I think it kind of creates some real bad taste for
Do we cross a line by saying not just 1 to 5, but maybe 1 to 10, since those
I
are
don't
two
think so.
different,
Yeah,
those
I
are two
think-
different categories.
Yeah, if you wanted to use 2 in Tirum, I think you could, because again, your focus there is people, we're trying to help anybody, but, you know, the smaller businesses have gotten hurt the most, who have the least ability to survive this as we see it. You want to justify it that way.
Well, the smaller businesses that weren't in business last year that can't get any other assistance because they got no records to prove.
Right.
Those are the ones that are hardest hit.
The gal from Skid, what are other counties doing? I mean, do you have a standard form that you suggest, since you're the administrator?
You ask Michelle.
The form that the state gave is the one that everyone has to use for their application, so I can't change that. That's what they're gonna want.
Thanks.
Along with the employee certification form now.
Michelle, have you
One of my
seen,
cities came up with their own ranking system, and it was like 5 points if you haven't had any federal support, and they didn't give any costs, they got 0 points if they were. And then the more LMI they were, the more points they got, up to 5. So if they were 67 or above on their LMI, they got 5 points. And then they just dwindled them down until like 1 point for 51%. And then they kind of graded their overall application based off of what they described their needs were, you know, how they plan to use the money and all that kind of stuff. So,
That's in the whole.
and I think they put a date they had to turn it in by.
But then again, that probably can't even answer it, but did they have more funds at their disposal?
No, they pretty much gave everyone the same. If it was if they were over a certain, like a big enough community, they all got about 117 to use. Even Reno County, that was the same way. Because they were trying to stretch that money as much as they could, I think, from what I understood from them, because there was an overwhelming amount of applications that came in.
I still think what goes back into what Brad was saying is put it down too tight. You might not even get rid of all the money.
Well, I think we're trying to overthink it. I would recommend that we go with Michelle's in the state's form, and then we could rank. I mean, we're paying them to administer, so that
We just need to come up with a ranking criteria.
they're the expert. I mean,
No, we have to create a ranking
Yeah,
system.
they're just
Their form.
administering.
can she suggest? I mean, the one she suggested.
Well, we've got
Those
the
are mandatory.
form, you know, that we have to use, which is not the same as the initial form that everybody was developing on their own.
Michelle, have you had anyone else attempt to do an objective targeting, like we've been talking about, where a certain number of employees, anything like that, that's, you know, that's just a raw number, and it doesn't become as subjective as what are they using it for?
Most I've had is people, you know, doing like kind of going off the state's guidelines, so it's like the 1 to 5, and then the 6 to 50, I think was the max amount of employees. Like, I think one group is doing like, if you're 1 to 5, the max you can request is 5,000. If you're 6 to 50, the max you can request is 10,000. But they're leaving it up to their discretion of how much they actually give based on what they describe as their need.
Okay.
And then
So they say you can tell us what you think you need out of this money, and then up to what they're allowing, and then they're going to decide based on their need what they actually are going to give them.
And we may have some businesses that apply for less than the maximum too, because they may not.
Yeah, I think.
what
And I think leaving it up to your discretion, because, you know, sometimes people think they need 10,000, or people can be a little greedy sometimes. So if you agree what they're saying they're going to use it for, and you're not 100% sure that they need a full $10,000, you can always leave it the city's discretion or the county's discretion to say, well, you know, we're going to give you 5,000. Even you may have asked for 10,000, we're going to give you 5,000. You know, just so you can hopefully make the money go farther.
Michelle, I thank you for what you just said a while ago, though, is if we did set a limit at 5,000 or 7,000, either one, that maybe once we got the application in, we didn't think it was worth but 3,000. So we'd still have the right to be discretionary over that amount. I think what you said there a while ago, I thought that was good. I think that's something we need to include whenever we do it. So.
And also something to keep in mind is that even if you're not able to hit all the businesses within the county, from what I understand from the state, that there is a second pool of money coming out sometime, in that some of those cities who didn't make the cut this time have a chance of possibly getting in the next time. So they haven't put that application out there. Or not sure how it's going to be distributed, but there is, from what we understand, more money to be distributed for the small businesses out there from HUD. So we're just kind of waiting on the state to tell us more about that. So maybe like Marion might be able to still get a grant later on, or I think Peabody was another one in the county that applied.
Yeah.
So there is hope for the other businesses still to get it, even if they don't get this money this round.
And in no way do we jeopardize their chances by dishing out this money to their residents.
They have not said anything to that effect to us, because like we said, what if the county got it and they end up giving a business within that county money, or that city, but my guess what they'll probably say is that business can't reapply for the money.
Okay. I just
kind of deal.
don't
So
know.
that's my best guess on that one.
And the cities.
Because there's a lot of
rural,
people that
right?
get money.
The cities would have to give their money to the city,
Yep.
not to the rural.
Yeah, it would be limited to the city.
Okay, so if we give a lot to the cities and not the rural, then the city comes back and gets more. It gets complicated.
It does.
Yeah, it gets real complicated.
Michelle, on these criteria, if you set a deadline for application and utilize the form, it's a chicken and egg problem. If some of the criteria that we want to use might limit this, as it is if we use 5,000, for example, as a firm figure, you get, 25 businesses or so that you're potentially going to service with this stuff. What if we get 50? I mean, there's the ability to adjust, but is there the ability to add or change those criteria somewhat after applications are received? Because in some cases, you'll have a better sense at that point of what types of businesses are all competing for that money.
Right, I had that same question, whether we can open the application period first.
And then do it.
And then figure out
Okay.
the maximums
What-
and criteria.
It's gonna be a lot easier to tailor it to what we got.
Application period though, so, I don't know, hypothetical, we throw it out to August 31st, is that too long?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 30 days, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just,
You take like 10 days and 15 days.
well, I know some
Yeah,
applications
yeah,
are already
I
in.
think.
Yeah, for them to get LMI and everything,
Yeah.
employees,
So,
30 days would be-
July 8th then?
something like that, I would say.
Yeah,
Gina, what do you think?
Michelle,
It's up to you guys have a year to do the grant. I mean, obviously, I don't think most of these are gonna take a year, because everyone's gonna want the money now. I'm telling everyone not to put the applications out till Thursday, because Thursday's their question and answer from the state on this whole process and what they're expecting more detail on it. So I'm waiting to listen to that before I have everyone put their applications out, so that if there's something that they don't like or won't want, we can have the chance to change it, and we don't get any penalties from the state on that. And I'd also make sure you have all your paperwork in line too. I mean, you can put the application out before your paperwork gets sent in, but I'd wait till June 11th to put it out there to have everyone start submitting and finalize your process of how you want to rank and hand out the money, just because sometimes their question and answers can give you a little bit more insight to what they're thinking and they want you to do with it too. And then I would give them like 2 or 3 weeks to respond. And once that 2 or 3 weeks period's over, see what you have, and then, like you said, if you have money left over after you give out the money, then you can reopen it again. So
if we go from the 11th, like you say, is Thursday,
Basically, put you at the first.
would you carry that all the way through to the 2nd? Because the 3rd is a holiday, the 4th is a Saturday, so it'd be the 2nd. of July, that gives them the last possible before things shut down for the holiday.
Yeah. You can do that.
What do you want for the meeting on the 30th to look at? The 29th would be.
I think it's probably gonna take a little bit more time than that to get it all. I mean,
Maybe we
I
should
think
look at-
leave it up to the, like it's been suggested, leave it up to the 2nd. And then then there's time to review everything.
Review it on the 6th. Or do we need to put it another week, 13th? That way there's plenty of time to compile.
Distribute and look at them.
Yeah, you're gonna need some time to review everything.
Mm-hmm.
Tina wants all 4th of July.
She doesn't have any days off.
I'm gonna not comment on that.
Let's say July 13th, I think that's
What-
a reasonable amount of time.
To close the application or to review them?
Well, we won't review it until we've closed it off, right?
We're gonna close it on the 2nd of July.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about closing it on July 2nd, and then reviewing, and then start doing grant awards as of the 13th.
All right. That's fine if you think people can get them in.
It's, in some, there's several ways that is valuable. We'll see who can get them done that quickly.
And also
And how
turns around
many
the
you're
money.
getting in,
Yeah.
and how adequate they are.
Yeah.
And then if you're still getting, a lot of people going, wow, we can't do it that
Oh,
fast.
you do 60 or 90 days, and they'll say, I'll start thinking
Yeah,
about it in 30, and
that's
then
it.
I'll think
That's
about
it.
it, and then they forget.
You gotta
Because we have the ability to reopen.
Yeah.
remember what this is too. It's money for the people that needed it most.
And they're gonna want
We
to
need
get it
it
sooner
We
rather
need to
than
get it
later.
taken care of so we can get it out there to
Yep.
them.
I'd be in favor of closing the 2nd, then.
Well, I'll make a motion to take applications till the 2nd of July, where we will close the application process and have hopefully to review the applications by the 13th. Second by Ken. Any other discussion?
And if we don't do it all by then, would we be able to reopen or just?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can reopen it.
Okay. Yeah. I- after
Good enough then.
that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second was Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I guess the rest of us need to start.
We need to approve the contract.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I received it by email after the packets went out, but I believe I did send it to all of you by email.
Basically a contract for the administration of CBDG at the
Right.
amount of $15,000.
No, this is the actual
With
contract
Commerce.
between the county and the Department of Commerce
Yeah.
that says we're gonna follow the rules of the grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
It's got that one, it's got the grant number on it.
Yeah, and then this paper clipped page is the signature page.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the Community Development Block Grant with the Kansas Department of Commerce, grant number 20-CV-041.
Second
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
I'm just really thankful that Marion County did receive some money
Right.
to try to help the businesses.
Great.
so.
Wow.
And I hope that the cities don't think we stole it, like maybe the paper said. We didn't steal it. We're trying to do something for, just like they are for their community, and they're all our community.
We were in contact with all of the cities, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just trying to see who could get an application in first to benefit, so
Right.
it was never meant to exclude anyone, so.
I think that was just poor.
I'm sure everybody realizes that. I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
guess we all need to be thinking about how we're going to tier. Because at the 13th, we'll have to have all that ironed out and ready to go.
Well, I think we have
Pretty good idea.
criteria to go by now.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Michelle. Is there anything else that we need to ask Michelle, or is there anything else we need to approve and get going so that this can get underway?
Michelle, I'm quite sure you would anyway, but if there's something that comes down that we need to know, you'll just forward it to Tina, right, so she can get it to us?
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
biggest thing is just that contract and then getting the other little pieces of paper, like the bank information and the authorized signature information over to the city. So that when you're ready to draw the money, you have all your forms done.
Okay.
And that was in that email Tina, I think, received from Debbie Beck.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this time is public comments. We got a member of the public here. We had another one. He's not here.
You gotta stand up.
And if you have a public comment, you gotta stand in front of the podium so you keep your spacing.
This past week, we've been out to the lake a couple times, and there's still a lot of interest in trying to get more bait or supplies in the office and fill the machine that we bought a couple years ago. So I hope you guys have told a couple of individuals out there that need to come as a group. I think a couple of you that I've talked to individually don't have a problem with it. I think Isaac would like some guidance on where you want him to go with that. That's where we're at today. Go from there. I think it's much needed. I was just surprised 5 or 6 people come in just a matter of minutes out there getting stuff. So we're
It's the only
asking
place you could ever get shed sides or shed guts. I mean, that was.
I think Isaac said
rare
the
find.
tanks are there, and the last time the aerators worked and coolers are there. So the stuff's there if we want to do something with it, but I don't need to oversee another project. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. That was something we want to address another meeting.
Are those comments that I'm seeing flipping up there, is that people writing stuff or not? I mean, I can't see it from here.
I have.
You
got-
flipped up and down, and I've seen several names with writing underneath it. Are they
I've-
comments?
I've got 2 items. One person didn't state their name, so I'm not putting it as a public comment. The other one was an ask while Randy was sitting back about midway through the meeting to sit forward so that they could hear him. And he sat forward. So
Sorry.
I didn't have to tell him.
I'm sorry, I just laid back. Tina's doing a good job of keeping me under control.
I'm trying to remind everyone.
Yeah.
Our minds wander.
Yeah.
So how do we?
The person requested not to have that shared, Diane, when they typed in, and Jonah followed up and asked for a name, and they said, never mind.
Okay, and then I've seen
So-
other ones there too, and obviously,
And
that's the first
that
time
was
I've
a-
ever seen it like that. So I'm just wondering how many comments were made through that system, and I don't see who they are or that there was a comment in there, so. That's
The
why I
only other
asked.
comment was that they couldn't hear Randy. And also that sometimes they can't hear Dave and Kent, so I keep reminding you all to speak into your microphone, so.
Guess we could all get headsets and, like they do on TV.
You didn't have to leave, Mike. You're still the chair. So, all right, so I would. When's Isaac gonna be back on the? Oh, okay.
I mean, I think he's just
No, I think it needs to happen.
the
sooner than
6th,
that.
July 6th
Yeah.
is his next time.
I just
Now,
encourage Isaac to talk to the commission.
You do need to keep in mind that that is a county-run bait shop,
Right.
and it's not been that way in the past, but it has to be. We cannot have a sole proprietor come in there and run a bait shop out of a county property. So everything we do has to be county-run, so if we expand it, that's gonna be county expense and county, revenue that has to be reported and the sales tax report. It cannot be any other way from that facility. So just wanted to make sure that
Right.
you're all aware of that.
I guess, you know, the
Not
last,
saying we can't do it, but,
the last time I was in there, so shame on me, but it was fully stocked. It was
right.
it was a place you had to go in Marion County to
Right.
get anything. So, and that's not that way anymore. There's a few other options, but when I heard it, I was kind of surprised actually that it wasn't still being utilized.
I believe we're supposed to have a report of what we bought and what we've sold.
I haven't heard any of it.
And I haven't heard nothing, period.
Nope.
So there's some reasons why, you know, maybe just ask for a report of what we bought, what we sold, and how we've done, what we have left, because we don't know that right now, so.
Okay, I can try to get him scheduled on the agenda to report on
Yeah, can we do it soon? I mean, next week? I know it's a full week day already, but I mean, just a comment, you know?
that.
Just-
Pardon me?
Can we
Send
have-
us a report and see?
Yeah.
See what he, yeah,
I-
maybe send us a report.
Can Isaac be on next week?
Yes, I had a note to put him on.
Because, you know, if we wait too long, summer will be over.
Yeah.
The bait shop won't matter.
How did he move in and still can't go out of that either?
Man. Okay, there was another comment about the bait shop, from Amy Soyas. I haven't moved out of public comment, so I thought I would go ahead and address it. And she asked, why was it different when Snelling ran the bait shop? And that's
And back then, there was an agreement in place, and he ran that and was able to, it was his business, and he kept all of it was a separate entity, which he was allowed to run out of there.
So he rented the space, basically, and then
He
operated?
didn't, I don't believe he rented the space.
Oh,
And it
that's a
shouldn't.
good deal.
Yeah,
It was part of his.
it was part of his pay
Oh,
package,
okay, yes.
because he wasn't paid very much for his position.
Okay.
And we have found out after Steve Hudson left that we are not allowed to do that.
Mhm.
So we cannot do that, yeah.
Okay, well, that answers it. Legally,
Yeah.
we're not,
Yeah, it's not a legal option for the county.
We're allowed
It
to
was
do it
just
the way it
something the
was.
way it had always
Can't
been
run a
done way
tractor
back
through this out
when.
county
so-
building, huh?
right.
But you lease it, you can lease it. It's better, you know, you can't do, you gotta watch who you're leasing it to if he's employed.
Well, and we can't lease that property for a private business, because we checked into all of
Okay.
that when
Okay.
Isaac took over out there. So we just have to, we can have a bait shop out there, or or not.
And so it just needs to be a county-run bait shop.
Yes.
And if we choose to venture in that.
That's correct. And so you can either let it expand or not. And in the, you know, since Isaac has been here, you haven't allowed him to expand it further, but that doesn't mean that you can't change your mind.
I guess I would be in favor of letting Isaac tell us whether he would like to expand it, and whether he'd like to take on that responsibility and how far he would be willing to go with that.
So then somebody would always have to be in the office for the sales. And you'd have to have some form of definite accounting.
Well, they do have
Constant
accounting.
purchasing of inventory and stock, I mean, the list goes on.
And they can have set hours. They wouldn't have to be 24/7.
No, I didn't even mean 20, even if it was 5 hours a day, that's still, you know, added expenses to make a little bit of money.
It's not about the little bit of money, it's about the convenience and the experience that people have when they come here and they use our county lake and they buy products at other places in the county. It all adds up. You want to be friendly to those people.
No, and I understand that, I'm just looking at the whole picture.
Yeah, but the whole picture could include sales tax in other areas by drawing them into this friendly environment that we have.
And then there
They
are.
buy money, they buy products on the way to get here, you know, that are within the county too, so it increases your sales tax.
And I
Drive
wonder-
their ATVs in on the county roads.
And I
Well, if they
wonder-
do it on the county road, it'd be all right.
How many bait and tackle
State
shops do
highway.
we have in Marion? Don't we have, isn't there one here in Marion, a bait and tackle shop?
There's
bait
one
shop?
on the north side of East Shore, or
Yeah.
I know Marion, I mean, I see a small building there.
I don't think it's open no more, I don't know.
And then Carlson sells some stuff,
Yeah.
and then I think there's one out the reservoir, and, I thought there was another one, but I don't remember, maybe not.
Well, Isaac needs to talk to us about it.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little
See if
bit.
if that's what he's wanting to do, because, you know,
Right.
he's only got so much time too, and if we deputize him, he's gonna be on the road more.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a decision I don't think we can make without Isaac saying
Yeah,
how far he's willing to
needs
go.
come to us.
And there would need to be a permit if you're gonna sell live bait
Mhm.
out there. So that's a state permit we would have to get if you're going to use the bins and sell live bait.
Okay.
The perspective of the bait shop there needed to change. It has changed, and I don't want to see this county go back to where it was at. And that's because you just don't need to go back there. Yes, it's a great service to this county, but also if you're trying to run a bait shop out here on Reservoir, maybe more people would come there.
Right, we don't need to make a competing business, but.
Through the county building, so keep that in mind too, that we're not out there to compete, but it is nice. I mean, and people's been spoiled for how many years? I mean, Kent was on the board many years ago, and it's been a service for Marion County to be there. It was nice to come there. You got everything right there. I can't say nothing against that, but I can say that it don't need to be as the way we was doing it before. It needs to change if we're gonna run it.
Yeah, I've heard a few people saying, you know, I like that lake so much, and I just wish, you know, I could contribute by a pass or a fee, and I said, no, just keep coming back and spending that money. Spend it here, and that's payment enough.
And I know we had discussed that, but you were talking, we had discussed that in length
Yes.
already, and that's why we had a very limited,
Yes.
convenient
Yes.
supply.
Yeah, we went back and forth on that.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure, we bought that machine, is it stocked? So, why do we buy the machine?
Yeah,
I
I
have
mean,
no idea.
that's what I'm saying. It's, yeah,
I'm
I'm just
sure I was
assuming
trying to pay for
it
it.
was, or I was concerned.
We paid pretty good, I mean,
Yeah.
we got a good deal on it.
Which machine are you talking about, Louis?
The big vending machine.
The vending machine?
We bought that from the lumberyard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's stocked.
I just took for granted it was, then somebody said, well, there's nothing in it.
Oh, okay, well, we've got a problem. We needed to address it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of this, I don't know. When, there's another one, but it's the same person, I don't know how long you let it
Oh,
go
and
on.
I responded to her. She was asking then why does Isaac get to live there? And that's also part of his compensation package. It's
Okay.
not the same as operating a business and getting the profits from that business.
Yeah.
But being the use of the lake house is part of the compensation package and also allows him to be on site if there's an emergency.
He's on call 24/7.
So,
And you know, that's interesting too, see, now that was a question that maybe somebody else would have enjoyed or would have learned by that answer. You know, but the way it was presented, the way it was, she responded to it, that was great, but then other people didn't hear that, which might have helped other people with that same question.
I seen it.
Because that has been a good question. over
I
the
seen
years,
it.
And I've been asked that same question. Yeah, you've seen it, but I
And the
didn't
last
see
time,
it.
and the last time that we hired someone, I think you gave the option of whether to live there or not. So,
Right. Yeah, no, I was just commenting on the public comment that way, that's all.
Yeah, moving on, we're gonna close the public comment, go on to commission comments, which this has kind of been already. But at least it'll put a stop to this chat box from going back and forth. I had a few things, Brad, I didn't know, you'd heard from Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
This morning. We find it again.
And then I had the other item that was driver's license renewal, and Tina already addressed that and said it would be open back up tomorrow. Somebody approached me this morning, wanted to know, didn't want to drive to Newton. And then the other thing is, you know, got to think a little bit about this pandemic and Randy and Deidre and their salaried employees, and is there anything we could do, and it's just a thought here, is there anything we could do to compensate them for just going the extra mile. I mean, you know, you hire an emergency and you hire your health officials, and that's for normal stuff. You know, when a 100-year pandemic comes along, it's a little different. Just, I'm so grateful that we have them, and I just wanted to give some thought to, you know, this is a rare event, and maybe we ought to be thinking
Been
about
paying some overtime.
Yeah, but that's not to the salaried employees.
Their positions are exempt from overtime.
I think that's just to the secretary, I believe.
I was at Tracy, the person was doing it, Tracy.
You know, I've been on the phone with both of them from time to time at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So, and they're still performing, still running out, getting grants, still taking care of us very well.
Don't leave out the county clerk.
Yeah. No, just, it's a thought. Well, I just wanted to float that thought, and let everybody have a minute to soak it in. But I'll go back to Brad with the.
Josh sent me a response this morning. Still working on the EMS lease. One issue that I have right now is that the information that the city and county have been providing is kind of being done on the fly. Without an architect or engineer working on this, I understand the costs and reasons for not doing that at this point. It does make working out the lease and legal descriptions a little harder and time consuming. Been working closely with city staff over the last couple of weeks and believe that they've been talking to counterparts in the county. I'll have a lease shortly for review at this point. Due to the issues at play, delicateness of the process, he has asked the city staff to allow he and I to hammer out the primary document, and he will keep me posted and have a lease to me shortly. And then finally, if there's anything specific the county absolutely requires, he wishes to know that so we can work it into the first draft. And I need to see the draft. I mean, I suspect everything will be there, but I don't know of anything that I would necessarily, that he's not already aware of, that I would ask him to add. So.
I don't know that I asked for a lease when I made the motion. I said, piece of property.
That's the way I understood it,
Yeah.
that we would own that lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 40-year lease at $1 a year.
I didn't know.
No.
I just knew from the
That's not
outset
the
he was
motion.
anticipating a lease.
Nothing said about a lease.
Yeah, I'd have to have the motion reread,
Yeah.
but I think that's the way Randy's motion read.
I thought it was a 40-year lease because we were told that it couldn't be a 99-year lease. It had to be a 40-year lease. Based on municipality.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's the direction it went. And I recalled it. I could be wrong. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, here's my problem with it, is we just dealt with leases that the city county got into before, and it's so much easier if it's county property, and I don't wanna tie this commission sitting down here 40 years from now. I want them to be able to do what they gotta do. That's, because already we've heard so much arguing about where it's gotta be, why it's gotta be, and this and that, and I don't want the commission to have that problem 40 years from now. They're surely, they're gonna be people just like us sitting here trying to accomplish something, and I don't wanna hold them back.
And I'm concerned about the plan anyway, because the last email that I read, it said that it was on hold, the project was on hold over Marion, so, I mean, Hillsborough, so I think we're chasing our tails here. I don't know what's going on, but to me, it's just not the way you do business. I don't know what we're doing or what we're.
I mean, I appreciate the point that the city of Hillsborough wanted to give us a piece of property, and that's what I thought they wanted to do, bring us the utilities to it, and I appreciate that too, because they don't want us out over there. There's 4 dead buildings over there sitting there empty, and I still think we could do that. But now I want this to be able to, for us to move ahead and show the city of Hillsborough, if that's what it is, that we can take this piece of property, put a building on it, and build an ambulance building, get our people satisfied, get them to where we know what's going on. And personally, we're trying to do a lot for the city of Hillsborough that they don't have to spend a dime on, except for this property. They're gonna spend some money on that, and So if they want a lease for that, then I think we need to bring it back here and have a vote on how we want to move ahead.
Yeah, because right now, his anticipated approach to this is the lease preparation. And I just took that as, okay, that's the instruction he was given by the city. But I think we are spinning our wheels a little bit here. I mean, we need to know which it is first and foremost.
Well, we
And
need to
that's
know
pretty
which
important.
direction we're going, because if we actually voted on purchasing, or the city was going to give us a lot,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
on
the city
the
council acted on it, and it ended up being a lease, well, we got two,
Yeah,
we got two
standards,
different,
yeah.
and it sounds like maybe that's what has happened.
Communication.
And I've been
Well,
asking
part
for
of
a
it is,
plan
yeah.
and haven't had a plan yet.
And then what Kent said earlier, a few weeks ago, and I think that's great, is if they give us a size of property, then we see whether we can put a rendition together to fit that property. And.
Well, yeah, because the whole issue's been is that whenever they decide that they want to move forward with their ambulance, police, whatever, everything would kind of
Fit together.
flow together.
And if they've got some specs for that building that they want us to sort of match, just give them to us. I mean.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything
I
like
don't
that.
think they have yet.
Yeah.
So
So-
that's why I was saying, maybe
Mhm.
if we had our own rendition, and then they could say, that looks good,
Yeah.
or
I'm done.
So I don't keep coming back with the same, and now somehow show up with a lease. What would you like done here? We're kind of, someone needs to I guess, take point on it. I just dealt with him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of going on what he's being instructed. So somewhere in this process, we need to nail down, we're acquiring it, it's not a lease, or it is a lease for a certain term, and then we can work through the terms. But we're not off dead center at all. And I see us doing this for weeks on end here if we don't move.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to find the motion, so.
I don't have so much issue with the lease other than the term. If they give us a 99-year lease,
I think they can't. I think that's a 40-year.
In certain circumstances, there's a limit, but I'm not so sure this would even apply. I
I
have to
mean,
check
4
that too.
years is not a very long lease. 40 years.
I think the age of the building is 40 years. I mean, I understand. I'd rather have a 99-year lease. I'm not gonna dispute that at all.
Yeah.
I
With
kind
the
of think
option
about
of
things.
renewing it for 40 years or something.
Whether we own it, we have or have a long-term lease, I don't know that that's, if it's a long-term lease, I don't know how critical that is.
Can I ask a question? So I'm just wondering, I understand that our service over in Hillsborough needs another building. And that's why Travis went to see different buildings that were coming up for sale to stay within our budget, similar to what we did up here. So how in the world did we spiral out of control to now we're spending, or potentially spending twice as much money? Why are we even, is this where we want our ambulance system to be in the first place? Is it the best place for it to be placed over in Hillsborough? Have we really thought about this? What is, I mean, I've heard pros and cons about that location. I realize we want to work with Hillsborough, but we have to work with Hillsborough to the advantage of the county service. And I'm kind of wondering, how in the world are we getting where we're going? Because now, look at the budget, and we're all worried about the budget. Just in this one project now, which we're running our project, we're doubling our budget. And we're actually hamstringing the EMS dollars, because now there's dollars that he don't have, that he has to save or cut back or whatever.
Or we have to find somewhere.
Or we have, that's right, or we have to find somewhere. And why are we doing this? I mean, it's not like we have to. I mean, I'm just confused here, because we could be moving on and improving our service. I mean, why are we just spending with
Well-
no end in sight?
I was dead set on buying a building that's out of service and the guy wants to sell because he's,
Yes.
and that, but I've heard a lot of arguments that wasn't the proper place. I personally say that whether it's within 5 blocks of that area and you can get on that highway or you can go south, I think it's all good property. I don't have no problem with that. But I was hearing quite a bit of arguments, so the reason why I made the motion was so we could get on down the road and get to moving. And it's been since then that we still don't have a piece of property to look at.
Actually, it's been 5 or so years. I hear that project over there has been in discussion for years and really hasn't moved far. So I'm really worried about what we're doing to the county with county dollars. And why are we're stagnating our system right now?
Well,
We're in that system right now.
you've got,
What we're doing right now
you've
is
gotta
not-
look back and see what Hillsboro's done for the county over the years. What have we paid to put those ambulances over there?
What?
Rent.
Say that again.
That's,
We're not paying anything to put that ambulance where they're at. We're not paying Hillsboro. We paid Marion every month.
No, I don't think we did.
we
No.
don't, we don't pay, we don't pay anything.
We don't pay anything to Hillsboro.
I'm not saying we
Wait,
do pay
we got
anything.
Florence,
I'm
we
not
got
saying we
Marion,
do.
or Florence, Peabody, and Tampa that don't pay anything either. They're all,
Right.
all of them, the whole county. that
I mean,
nobody's
all
paying.
we're doing is paying the apartment
Yeah,
rent,
so,
basically, there.
what I was getting at was the argument on where, well, not argument, the statement on why are we paying so much more money?
On the building, we have a $150,000 building that we could buy cash
But
right now. But
always-
now a proposal is up
All
to $300,000.
Kent was going at was either one of those directions is costing more than it's costing us now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we can do
Right
nothing.
now, it costs us nothing if we do nothing.
Well, that's right. If we don't want to improve the system that we have over there, the EMS service, we could.
Well, it does cost
That
us
is
something,
correct.
let me back that up. There's an apartment that they rent.
Yeah, we pay apartment rent,
Right,
but I
there is-
mean,
Well, that's to be expected.
we're right there with the fire department. Maybe downtown isn't the best location, I don't know, but they get there.
I'm
you
just
know.
saying, we really haven't thought this
Makes a
out.
couple minutes difference.
I mean,
It's kind of like the transfer station, you know, here you go into
we're not,
something and then you
we're
have
not
all
in a
these.
position where we have to actually
Well,
do anything.
Talking about
That's
the transfer
true.
station, I mean, I would have liked to seen a different building than that. I would have liked to seen something built on a hill like every other community does, and that's why you go with a new building. That's why you go with a new, and don't piecemeal onto something.
And again, we looked at budget, I mean,
I
budget
know,
had.
I know where the decision came from. It's just, there is going to be some issues with this transfer station. Not saying that it's gonna be severe, but there will be, sand oil separator.
Maintenance.
Sand oil separator goes out.
Maintenance.
We have a 6-inch rain, that pit's gonna be flooded. I mean, because it wasn't designed like these other transfer stations that are at grade level so that you don't have flooding.
Really?
Yeah,
Let's talk about EMS.
that's why they build them. But no, I'm just saying that there are pros and cons to a new building versus an old building.
Sure.
Kind of back to where we were, do we need to do some kind of a work session or something to resolve this and invite
Let's do it. I'm gonna throw this on top of next week, I know, but they're gonna be here anyway.
Okay,
They're gonna be here anyway for the recycling discussion. So
Okay.
Let's tag team that in there.
I think it would be good, because we're kind of floating.
We need a rough layout of what the ambulance department requires. How big a building.
Well, I think we know.
It's 40 by 80.
Yeah, we
We
know
already,
that.
we already did
But
that.
that's what the other one's gonna be.
No, that's what he wanted in the beginning, was a 40 by 80.
We need to see it on a piece of paper in front of us.
Okay.
They
The only
have to
thing
be
that changes,
professional.
Dave, the only thing that changes that thought is if the city of Hillsborough wanted 16-foot sidewalls, that we would have a building with 16-foot sidewalls and a lot of space above the offices. And in that token, do we do something with that space and shorten the building up maybe a little bit? And I don't know, I'm just saying that
You can always overbuild.
well,
You
yeah,
never, you can't make it big enough.
right, and so.
Anytime you build,
Yeah.
sorry.
So,
You're right.
Mhm, but that was the original proposal, but it was lower ceilings, and so now we may have a room for
Which is-
2 stories here. Yeah,
The second story is awful cheap.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
County can use it for storing the records.
Well,
You know.
it may be, Dave, that may be.
Someday it'll be right next to the fire department, so you hope that be safe.
Yeah, that may be.
Now you're talking about moving records out of Marion, and now you got another one.
Oh, yeah.
How about moving the courthouse? Got that,
Oh.
right, Tina? Don't say that, right?
Where's that going? All right, is there anything, we need to take this any further, or we're just gonna have a work session with them on the 15th? Try to,
I think that's probably your best bet from what I'm hearing.
Do we-
And I can just let him know there's still some questions, and I'm sure he'll be glad to know he's got another week or so before he doesn't even
would,
tackle it.
would it be beneficial for yourself and Josh to be
It always is, in terms of hearing this stuff. It's not a necessity depending upon your timing, but I don't know what his schedule is at all. He's now, his office is in Junction. But we can always review it.
Yeah, we could virtual them in.
Yeah.
I say that. Maybe.
We
He
can.
always takes care of it for me.
I mean, he's set up to do it because I've had him on here before me in Newton Municipal Court a number of times already.
Okay. No, I think that would be beneficial at the cities. So we'll have to take care of the recycling first, so that way, because Marion has a city council meeting later in the same day. Alright, so they will need to get on, so then that will have to come right after that.
And this is next week.
Yep.
So come back and see us next week too, Brad.
Not a problem.
Is there any other commission comments?
Brad, do you have anything to report to us as far as the negotiations on the?
Yeah, well, I do need to get a few answers on a couple of things, some specifics out there on some things that I am expecting them to do based on the original hit list, punch list. I need to talk to Tanner, and Bryce and I talked down the hall for just a minute. Told him I needed to get hold of him too, just for clarification on some items in terms of what we need to have included in that total that we're going with. There's still a little discussion there.
Sounds like a lawyer talking, and didn't get an answer, did we?
Yeah, she did, yeah, yeah.
Did we ever apply for the money that was the secure money? Did we ever apply and start that process going? Because I thought we set a time frame. I thought we set a time frame.
We
I
did.
think we're well past that.
Yes, we are.
But we're so effective here, aren't we? Gosh.
Yes, we are, way past it.
Is it still there?
Yes.
All right.
They carried it for another year. We got
We
until
think
January,
so.
or
We
December
think so.
31st.
Yeah, yeah, it's still committed.
Yeah. All right.
Is that all you have?
Everybody good?
That's not
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. Got a second by Kent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Zoom off. TV going.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was because she was looking for some emails and there's confidential stuff that was popping up. She had to shut it off.
Well, didn't figure